this moment on, it's being recorded. And Frederick, over to you. You are the host now.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Arik. Thank you so much for hosting us today. I'm your co-host anyway. And
Yeah.
is Trevor already on the line? I've not seen him.
Yeah, he's here. We even chatted a little bit. Yeah.
Wow, Trevor, welcome. Thank you. Everybody else is joining us. I know others will join us later. We are really overjoyed. We are excited, especially me. People who know about fasting, we are so excited, especially the dry fast. We are very excited to share this journey, Trevor. So, let me introduce Trevor a little the way I've known him for a short time. I've not known him for quite long, but from the guy I've met, he's a very calm guy. This guy is very determined and is also friendly. And apart from that, I realized that Trevor has some traits of a person who is like fearless. They once we give that name, they are devils who can try things that have never been tried. I want to introduce Trevor as a person who has broken 3 records. One, one, there are people who say you cannot fast for 3 days dry. You know that outside there, many people talk about that outside there. Actually, it's what's common outside there. You have to take water. I don't know, after 3 days you'll die. That's what they use. You'll die. But Trevor has done that. Has passed 3 days record or whatever, what people call outside there. He has also gone past 11, 12 days. This is the way now the real thing, the real deal is. Because most of us in this group, we know that we have been advised or we have been told medically not okay to go past 11 days. Actually, 12. 12 is always the maximum where we limit all of ourselves, like the standard where everybody can reach safely. But Trevor has also broken that. He has also said, let me try something that has never been done before. So he has gone past 12 days. That's our second record broken. Then, lastly, in the Guinness Book of Record, we talk about people who have done, the person who has done actually, the record talks about 18 days dry fast. But Trevor has done that, I think, more than once. Right? He's going to tell you a story. He has done that more than once. So, his last fast, he did 20 days dry fast, full, breaking that 18 mark record, meaning this thing is possible. According to me, the people I know very well, even myself, I've never gone past 15. Talk about 15, 14, you don't go beyond that. And Trevor has gone beyond 18 days. So this puts him to be a very resourceful person. So you need to listen to his story. As a person, I have so many questions that I'm going to ask him. That's why I'm introducing to you a person who has a very good determination. I don't know how I'm going to call it. Excellent determination. Beyond normal. So this is the person we're calling Trevor, who has done this long. So you want to hear his story. Trevor, welcome. Thank you. Trevor is coming all the way from the US. I'm in Kenya and Arik is in Israel. We have people from India. This is an international group anyway. So we have people from everywhere, every part of the world in this meeting today. Thank you, Trevor, and welcome. Canada, yeah, Canada is here. Sorry, I need to mention Canada. We have South Africa. We have so many people. I think UK. There are so many people from UK here. So essentially, almost every continent is presented here. Otherwise, thank you so much. So welcome, Trevor.
Yeah, thank you. I already want to say so many things based on the introduction. Yeah, I love the passion you have. I had the same passion in this dry fasting. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's the most interesting thing I've ever discovered. And obviously, it's a sense of trust. Anytime someone says they've dry fasted this long, you kind of have to trust them that they did it, right? It's kind of like people say they do all sorts of things. So, I mean, I can authentically say that I did dry fast 20 days, and it took me a bit to break that 13 or 14 day barrier, and I realized that there was a few things I had to do to get there. But I know, like I was saying to Arik, I love how we all come together. I think these people are all in like a mission. You know, I kind of think about this thing spiritually, almost as equally as physically. And I think that all you guys are kind of the closest people going towards the true answer on this planet, which is complete detox physically and spiritually. And that's kind of what I've experienced through my journey.
Wow. Thank you. So I don't know if you are going to start with the journey. How long? Okay, when did you know about dry fasting? Maybe fasting.
I started 4 years ago. Yeah, and it was all because it wasn't for. It wasn't just because I wanted to dry fast and be without food and water. I mean, who wants to not have food and water? I kind of was going after a healing journey. I had a few sicknesses that I was targeting. So
that's 4 years ago. And before you started dry fast, did you have any other type of fast that you are doing before? Did you maybe practice this water fast or any other type, or you just knew about dry fast? So I mean, you knew about fasting and you knew about dry fasting. Okay.
Yeah, I first started off juice fasting, but I did very little of it. And then I did the water fasting for probably like 8 months. And I realized then I realized that something was there. And I realized that if you can, I was fasting 24 hours. I was doing OMAD. And then I realized I was doing 72 hours water fast. And that was kind of like blowing my mind. And I didn't really tell anybody at that time because people couldn't really handle that. And then that's when I realized I started to become a little more private with my fasting endeavors. And then I realized that dry fasting was kind of the modality I wanted because it goes deeper and it's quicker. And I had like much better health response to that. Like my sicknesses were kind of suppressed. So I was able to suppress my ailments through dry fasting. And then that's when I kind of started figuring it all out myself. There's not much information out there on dry fasting, as you guys know.
Yeah. And maybe which information did you trust? Because sometimes when you meet this information, you don't want to just get yourself into fasting, especially the dry fast, from a reliable source, maybe from a which website or maybe from a friend. Maybe where do you actually learn the dry fast that you trusted? Because the first time for me, I learned about dry fast, I was not trusting it. I actually fought it. I didn't like it. I thought it was wrong because the way we have been told about fast, water fast. And
I was telling Arik how it's kind of, you can't really trust people who've done it. So it's like you do this reading and you're kind of thinking, am I being fooled because it seems so crazy? But, truth be known, this is like a healing technique we've been doing for millions of years, and trusting your body. I think it's so beautiful that in the end, we don't need any pills. We don't need anything at all. The body is actually able to heal itself of all things, in my opinion.
Wow.
So I think that going farther is kind of like a spiritual faith as well as a physical faith, because you're kind of trusting your body and you're getting to know your body at the same time. You're breaking the next barrier, so you're kind of proving to yourself that it is possible, and your body's kind of confirming that it's okay. It's okay. You can trust yourself. You can go deeper. And I mean, there's a million things I want to say. One of which is there's so many obstacles. One is your family and friends may stop you from doing that. That's kind of why people go into the wild, go into nature historically, because they need to get away from people who love them so much, because they're about to get really skinny and it's not a good look, So it's like, that's why I went to Guatemala. I had to fly away from my friends and family so they can't stop me even if they wanted to, So it's just too long of a time. I couldn't hide it for 20 days. I can hide it for I've done some sneaky 12-day dry fasts, but 20 days is just too far.
Oh. And how did you find the weather in Guatemala before I come to this other question?
People ask me that a lot, and I kind of threw a dart at a map, honestly, and I kind of saw that there's this beautiful lake, and I kind of wanted a water source that I was able to kind of drink through the air, So in the morning, this is kind of an important part of getting past 13 to 14 days. So in the morning, there's a dew point, where the air becomes cold enough for there to be a dew in the air. And I would kind of use this and kind of use a breathing technique during that time. And it wasn't like too humid of a air molecule, but I was still able to use it to kind of drink the air at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then after that, the sunrise, it's a beautiful 1-2 punch to kind of do some sun gazing right after that. So it's by the lake in Guatemala. I thought that was a good location for it. Plus it was just like a beautiful cliffside scenery.
Wow. Had you been there before, or you just, how did you know about that area, the place where you just chose? You must have known had some background information with.
I actually didn't know anything about Guatemala. I'm not sure any of my friends or family would ever consider going there. I easily could have never gone there my entire life. But I mean, I had to say it was kind of like a God thing. It was like literally the perfect place for me to go. And the country is so like has a strong feeling to it. There's kind of intense poverty there, and people are struggling. They're doing whatever they can to survive, and you can kind of feel it in the soul of the people. It's very Mayan culture. They'll hike 100 miles just because they feel like it along the highway. So I was kind of like immersed in this very strong culture to begin with.
Wow. So I think everybody's getting here. This is very key because fasting in the nature is the secret of dry fast. Yeah. So the other thing that maybe people will be interested in, how did you prepare for the fast?
So this is something that I mean, there's so many sources that say so many different things, and a lot of people will even say you don't even need to prepare for a fast at all. I think that if there's one bit of information that I want to get across to you guys, it's preparing for a dry fast. And there's two main things that I would do. Is one, I'm in it for healing disease. Okay, so I'm kind of slingshotting myself into a longer fast. So the best way you can clean yourself is by doing dry fasting. So I do a dry fast in order to prepare for my dry fast. So I'll go to the point where my body's getting complete cleanse. So I'll go like 11, 12 days for the first one, and then I'll wait the same amount of days I dry fasted. So for the beginning fast, I actually fasted 13 and a half days. So I went a little bit beyond. And my body definitely couldn't go beyond 15 days at first fast. So like I'm more limited in movement. That's how I know when to kind of break it, because I can't really even walk. I'm walking less and less distances. And then I'm like, I need to break my fast. So eventually I'll wait 13 days and then I'll engage in that 20-day dry fast. And the second thing I'll do to prepare is I'll start eating raw vegan for as long as I'm able to before the fast. So I'll kind of do like 10 to 12 days before the fast. I'll start eating raw vegan, like cucumber salads, nothing cooked, easily digestible foods. And that's kind of like helping your body not have to get rid of that waste while you're fasting. And then the 5 days leading up, that's when I start getting a little more serious. I'll kind of start doing like enemas in the morning, and I'll also do kind of ozonated magnesium at night for the 3 days leading up to it. So I'll do like 5 to 6 pills of ozonated magnesium. That kind of liquefies anything in your colon. So that's it's an unabsorbable magnesium. So it's kind of like a bull in a china shop. It'll go right through your colon and drag everything through. And then I'll do the enemas in the morning, the 3 days leading up. And then importantly, the most important part is the day of that I start the dry fast, I will do the technique that Sat Marga does, and I'll do a salt flush. It's kind of intense. It's very intense for me, and that kind of cleans the colon out. And I feel like you dry your skin out. So it's also like it's a helpful like thing to do for dry fasting, because you're kind of starting the process. And then after that, I'll sit on juices for the entire day. So I have the salt flush at like 9 a.m. and then I'll start the fast at 9 p.m. So I'll have juices up until then. So I'm completely hydrated, and I will sprinkle in some potassium into my juices to make sure I have it for the dry fast. So, and that kind of helps any dizziness you might have. So I would get like very faintish and sometimes want to like fall down even. But if you have enough potassium in the days leading up, your blood is able to circulate a little better.
Wow, there's something striking in this preparation, because for us, we talk about 12 days finishing a fast, but for you, it is preparation.
Yeah.
That's quite challenging, but it's actually like a circle. So it also means, like that's how I'm interpreting it. It also means that maybe if you reach 20, if you the breaks in between the way you need to know, then you can even go a little higher than that circle. That's what I'm feeling from what you're saying.
I think so. And like, I'm happy to share all this information with you guys, because I mean, I kind of wish somebody was there to share this with me as well. And the reason I'm able to go so far is because I'm obviously trusting my body, and I do have like almost like a sense of being okay with whatever the outcome is. Like, I just kind of trust the process, and I feel like I can go longer. And there's a point where I realized that breatharianism is nothing more so than your body finally cleaning the blood. So like you'll kind of have this obstacle where you feel like your blood's a little thicker. And if you're clean enough already from doing dry fasting, your body starts cleaning the blood intensely. And that's when you're ready to be a breatharian, in my opinion. So it's kind of like the last obstacle before you can start really just breathing and living with the air. I think that's a possibility. I'm not sure if I'm going to become a breatharian, but I'm definitely going to go farther than 20 days this year, in my opinion.
Wow. And between let's say as you're preparing for the 20-day fast, then did you say 13 or 15 days?
Yeah.
For preparation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then what is the period between that last fast of preparation and now the first day of their 20-day fast? How long? What is the period between that time?
So yeah, there's 13 days in between that. So there's 13 days. So if I fasted for 11 days, I would only wait 11 days before I started my second fast. But I did 13, so I waited 13 days. And you can kind of feel the autophagy if it's still existing because your body's rebuilding after that time. And so you're kind of connecting those two fasts. Because if you wait too long, you have to start all over again. And it's you're not really in that autophagy anymore. And so your body starts building up that lymphatic waste that's getting dumped into your blood and inhibiting you from actually going farther. So that's why I'll slingshot myself into longer fast with a previous fast. I think it's a good technique. Unless you're incredibly clean, then I think you can just do it right from the start. But I kind of wanted to do a fast before I fasted. So.
Wow. I just like, and then what about your diet? What at this period, you just go back to the normal diet or you restrict yourself to some, maybe the raw vegan, maybe just tell us exactly what you did there within that time, within that period, in your diet.
I can't understand the question. Can you repeat that again?
Maybe, what do you feed on between in between the fast for preparation and the real fast now? So in between what you feed?
I know, like in the worst case scenario, I know that dense foods really don't leave your body for like 72 hours. So if I put any dense foods in my body, I'm definitely not having that, 5 days before I start my fast. That has to kind of leave my system. So I don't trust that it leaves my colon completely. So I'll just have raw living foods. I'm constantly thinking about keeping my colon clean. So I'm having a lot of grape juice, apple juice that I make from my juicer. I'll eat apples, I'll eat pears. I'll make cabbage smoothies. These things kind of keep healing and cleaning the gut. I think that the gut is kind of like the primary focus. I think I've realized after all this that it's a very important thing to have the gut completely clean and trying to do that throughout my daily life. Because the body that's when the body experiences true healing. And because if there's any food in there, it can ferment. And also glycogen is being pulled from that food. So you're not really in a fasted state, and that's when the body can really be at rest, in my opinion. So I want to be completely at rest. It's because I really do subscribe to the fact that if you have any bit of food in your colon during a dry fast, it's eventually, your body's going to suck all the moisture from that food. It doesn't matter what it is. And it's actually going to see that food as toxicity. And it's going to start flowing around your blood. And you're going to experience all these symptoms that you think that your body's, it's not really in your colon. But it's fermented foods that are just going through your blood, and it's acting as if it's like alcohol. It wants to get rid of that toxicity. So you'll end up having headaches. You'll end up not wanting to, you can't walk, you want to rest. You feel just really, really bad. And it's all because you just had some leftover food in your colon and now you can't really go that far. So it's kind of almost like wasted time. And it's painful to stop the fast that way because you're like, damn, I didn't clean my colon completely. So my body will actually prioritize it so much that even late into a fast, my body will accentuate a bowel movement. And I'm like, wow, this is a priority for my body. It's actually pushing this through, even though I'm so dry. It's like, get this out of me, because now we understand what you're trying to do here. You're trying to heal, and you didn't do it properly. So let's have a bowel movement real quick. And so I've even had the point when on day 7 on the dry fast, I had a bowel movement. It was actually a worm in my colon, and it was pretty interesting to see, because I was feeling like completely depressed and like really negative, and I was like, something's in my body. I felt full, and then sure enough, like I passed this, a couple of worms. I took a picture of it and I was like, just baffled. And I felt euphoric afterwards. I felt so happy. My body was like celebrating that we finally got rid of that parasite in my colon. I wasn't even going for that parasite, but
added advantage, yeah? They call it added advantage. Yeah. There are so many things that dry fast does with our body until we don't even, so many benefits. Sometimes some of them we don't even know. We only feel them. Sometimes, like I found some people feeling light, even myself, especially with this short dry fast. When you go in series, you find you become very light. Okay, Trevor, this is your day, so I'm not going to be talking much. I may be having more questions, but let me handle one more. Maybe let me ask you one more, then people who are around will ask others. I'll give them a chance. We give them a chance to talk to us. Maybe they have questions. Have you gotten any positive or negative changes after the dry fast? Because we have not talked about this too, but I think we have all the time you're going to talk about it. After the dry fast, have you seen anything that you can say, this is, I point this after the 20 days dry fast, I can point, this is a positive one. This one, I'm still struggling with this one, or this is negative.
So I've seen so many positive changes, so much so that I want to scream it on top of a mountain and just tell the entire world, but like no one really wants to listen. No one wants to give up their food addictions. The positive changes I've seen are just complete clarity of mind. My skin is blatantly cleaner. My vision is better. My tongue is obviously pink and healthy, like I like. My gums are pink and healthy, like I like. And I had to say, like, I didn't pursue this path to have a spiritual type of aspect, but I realized in the end that that's kind of all there really was. And the concept that I've kind of adopted is we are all kind of in an unnatural state right now. We're all eating food and we've kind of come to believe that this is the way life should be. But I think we're actually going towards our natural state when we're dry fasting. So we're a light being that doesn't really need food at all. And so since you're going there, you're going to be without disease because your natural state, which is angelic and in a light form, doesn't have disease to begin with. So God's kind of like, yeah, this is of course the way it's going to be. You're going to heal anything you want because you're becoming a light being again. So it's kind of, that's the kind of the epiphany that I would have in my dry fasting. You know, I'm just going towards my true state. So the biggest benefit I would say for me is that I figured out who I truly am through dry fasting, because I'm so clean that I see my soul, my spirit's essence. I know it sounds very deep for me to say that, but I'm able to kind of see truly my path and actually hear my higher self, whether that's God or whatever. And I can actually hear something coaching my perspective when I'm late into a fast. It happens after like day 14. And I try to keep that after I'm fasting. So that's the biggest benefit, is keeping that higher consciousness coaching of whatever is coaching me and late in the fast. I know it sounds like I'm a crazy person, but I believe that that's kind of the way of our spiritual, legends like Jesus Christ, Buddha, Muhammad. I feel like that they got this perspective coaching deep into a dry fast because they trusted this experience so much. And I'm definitely seeing that avenue open up as well.
Wow. As for me, actually, it's always the spiritual perspective of the fast that makes me like the fast so much. But then there are those added advantages and fringe benefits of the health part, all the other physical, emotional healing become very stable. But I've realized that if we pursue this path consistently, we are going to come to a point where we become exactly what you are saying. We become the being that we are created to be, the light being. Sometimes we might even reach a point where we will not need the things like aeroplane to go to a place. You'll just find yourself there because now you are light. You are like, you don't have the barriers of the physical barrier. That's why Jesus was able to even walk on water. Otherwise, I will have some more questions for you, but I want to give people a chance to talk to Trevor. It's not only me who has heard about this experience of 20 days life. It's mind blowing. We didn't know that we are going to start 2021 with this kind of things.
Yeah,
so,
no, I did. Yeah, so I would, I mean, I can talk about the things that fascinate me the most about it, which are the kind of processes that occur during a dry fast. It's kind of phenomenal how the body will actually get to certain levels and then experience that kind of detox. So I was a person that had like a lymph node problem. So I know probably some of you were curious about what I was trying to heal. I was trying to heal a mycoplasma pneumonia. It gave me psoriasis. I had like sinusitis. I had inflammation in my brain. It would make me be depressed, clogging ears. My vision was lacking. And it was a mucosal parasite that you would get just from sharing some water or exchanging your liquids from somebody else, you know? So I ended up kind of getting this mycoplasma pneumonia. The other thing I had was an infection in my jaw, and it was giving me swollen gums. And that was very, very annoying. Every single day, all day long, I would think about these two things and how do I get rid of them? And so with the dry fasting, the reason I started doing it, and this is probably the most important part for people who are interested in the physical aspect of this, I would actually begin my journey doing something called ozone therapy. So ozone therapy kind of lessened my symptoms. I didn't know about fasting at this time. So I would pretty much embark in ozone every single day. My family was like, you're kind of oxidizing your body too much. And I didn't believe them. I was like, I was a man on a mission, you know, just like I am with dry fasting. I do things pretty hardcore, every avenue I go just to get the answers. And so I realized I exhausted the ozone, and I also did a hardcore alkaline diet, just fruits and vegetables. That also suppressed my symptoms, but no cure. And then when I started combining the ozone with the dry fasting, I was able to see, now this is kind of like a big gem, actually. The reason why I was able to go this far is because I was kind of getting the answers on the test. So I would do ozone during my dry fasting, and I would see exactly how far along the autophagy was because I was instigating that parasite. I can see how far along it was dying and the day that would be most beneficial. So it seemed like not even day 7, day 7 kind of started what you would call the process of death. You know, it took that long for a parasite to kind of consider dying and unlatching from my body. And then around day 10 is when it's kind of started getting serious. Day 11 is obviously the fracture point where that's literally the point where it just gets the most angry and it's most inflamed. And of course, people will want to stop because they're seeing like a pushback, a lashback. And believe it or not, these parasites literally have consciousness. Well, they'll kind of influence your brain at that moment that you're going to kill them. And it's almost like a demonic possession, which I would never consider them to be that intelligent. And then they want you to stop. They want to live on the host, you know? And then at that point, day 12 is when you're kind of on the downslope and you're actually healing it authentically. So the ozone would kind of show me that, because now the dryness that my body was utilizing was now becoming accentuated. And now it was just a matter of me hanging on long enough to actually eradicate my intended sickness. And so I failed many times because I didn't really know how long you can dry fast. And it was kind of like my heart had a little murmur there, and I would have doubt, you know? And I think it was all for the good, because I ended up realizing how to kind of go about these fasts in the future. And I was able to kind of walk spiritually more so with these fasts in the future as well. I think God was saying, like, I'm not done with you yet, so let's break it now. And then I've really enhanced my spiritual education because of that. So I'm actually happy that I failed so many times before really going so far. And so eventually I realized that at day 15, that's when you really are unlatching the true parasites. So the jaw infection actually also migrated to my throat. So I actually had a pretty stunted voice box. So I couldn't really throw my voice, and I realized that there was a parasite actually latching around my voice box. And that's what I realized that they do, is that they actually kind of block sensors in your body, immune responses, and I believe even your chakras, and inhibit you from actually leveling up consciously. So my throat chakra was completely locked up from the parasite. And day 15 is when it completely unlocked, and my whole neck area became very full, my lymphatic nodes. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like something just happened. And that was like a really tough end boss, you know, a parasite that was very tough to really eradicate. And then there was a matter of me just hanging on long enough to get rid of that, clean out the lymph, because that's something that dry fasting is super good at, is cleaning out your lymph and purifying your blood and lymph. So yeah, that's why I've kind of gone so far and have been excited to do so. So yeah, my body's kind of held on to these benefits since then.
Is this these days that you have given up? Are they one for the 20-day fast, or the first time you are starting to fast? You are trying to fast and then would break, and then you come back, try it again, because you have talked about the 7th day. You started to feel some changes, but it was not that vigorous. Then it reached the 10th day seriously. Then 11th, it's like the parasite became very angry. So I don't know, are these sequences of the events until you reach the 20th day on this other fast, or these are previous fast before this the 20th day fast?
These are the sequence events every single fast, you know. So there's something that I flirt with this idea that if you take these parasites deeply and one of their cells survives, you're kind of training that cell to be a little bit stronger, you know. So the parasite gets a little bit stronger, but not strong enough that you can't cure it. You'll always be able to cure it, but it's going to understand this autophagy process, and it will hide a little bit more efficiently. So a lot of people will be discouraged when they dry fast because they take their parasites or whatever they're trying to beat into deep waters, and then when they break it, they reinstigate it again, so that it kind of acts like it's the first time they got that sickness again. And also they get inundated with the disease, and it's kind of like a depressing process because now it's repopulating across your body as if it's the first time you had that infection. You know what I'm saying? So that also motivated me to kind of go again soon in the dry fast, because I was like, no, I'm experiencing these symptoms again hardcore, and I'm onto something here. Let's keep it going, you know?
That is too key. That is, nobody has told me such like a thing. This is the first time hearing that. This has totally changed my viewpoint. It means that the way we fast, somehow, even whatever we call it, whether parasites, whether bacteria, viruses, they are trying to adapt to this tough situation. So it means if I do the 5 days dry fast, and then the second time I do another 5 day, another time, third time I do the 5 day, they would have now adopted to that kind of environment, that harsh environment. So it means I should a little try and stretch it to a level where they can't survive.
Yeah,
that's how I'm interpreting that thing. Because for me, it's like, okay, if you do 1 5-day dry fast, then next time you should not go to 5, go to 7. Then another time next, try 11. Maybe another time try 14, 13. You must make the circle, try to make the circle keep on expanding. Thank you, Trevor. That was that's quite a strong point.
I'm kind of somebody, I literally don't have a high white blood cell count. So I think that like that's usually what your soldiers in your body, they go to work for you when you're dry fasting. So they'll kind of go around your body like Pac-Man, that video game, and eat up whatever it needs to eat up through autophagy. And that's kind of, you need to sustain this environment long enough for your white blood cells to really kind of eradicate the sickness, you know? So I didn't really have that much. So I needed to do longer fasts. So it's likely that you guys probably won't even need to fast that long because you have probably a higher white blood cell count than me. So yeah, it's just kind of sustaining that environment for a long enough time. So I used to kind of like cool myself down on my dry fast, and I like a cool environment, but your body heats up on purpose because that allows your white blood cells and your phagocytes to go to work, because it kind of stuns the parasites. So it immobilizes them through the heat your body produces. And then that white blood cell is actually more mobile during that environment as well. So that's why I kind of like to kind of endure a little bit of heat. Yeah, I'm not going to digress, but yeah, go ahead.
Wow. Thank you, Trevor. I'm just liking what you're doing today. I didn't even know it. I was just excited about the 20 days, but I didn't know what it is like the 20 days. I'm quite impressed anyway. So if everybody has a question, before I can continue with some few questions I have for Trevor, maybe you can unmute yourself and talk to us, please. Talk to Trevor. I'm going to mute myself.
Trevor, I'm Aranka from Canada, and I'm so excited to meet you. I read about you a little bit on Instagram. I never go on Instagram, but some people told me that there's this young fellow. I'm sorry, I'm on day 2. Hardcore, but it gets a little bit flaggy, right? Yeah. I wanted to ask you, most people's reaction, 90%, perhaps 99% of people, when something doesn't work, we change course. We don't keep going to the same route, right? So I also listen to other people who do water fasting, and they tell me that dry fasting will not work on a long term because nothing happens. It's water that flushes out, right? No, that's what they say, right? And so that's why I'm so excited to hear you saying, well, heck, 5 didn't do the job. Now I cultivated very strong parasites. Now I'm going to go for 7. So you do the cascading one, right? Although you dare to do a 15-day from a water fast. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so I actually eradicated a lot of parasites. There's 2 protocols I like in particular, and this information isn't really anywhere on the internet. So there's one, they're both hardcore. You can kill tumors in the brain, tumors anywhere in the body if you do this. And this is pretty much a good inoculation protocol for pretty much anything. You can just do a 15-day dry fast, break 3 days, 15-day dry fast, break 3 days, 15-day dry fast, break 3 days. So you do 4 15-day dry fasts broke with 3 days of hydration. And that's kind of like no one wants to share that with anybody, and this is not medical advice because it's kind of dangerous for someone to go into with that hardcore of a protocol, but people cure cancers and tumors this way. It's kind of like a very known thing in like India, like with gurus. They don't really share this information. If you go and pay for their services, then they're like, okay, and they supervise you during that protocol. I personally like, a faster approach. That's why I don't water fast, So water fasting would probably take me 80 days, maybe 85 days to eradicate the same diseases I want to eradicate that I can accomplish in 20 days, So I'll slingshot myself into a 13-day and then a 20-day, you know what I'm saying? So I realized that for me, my parasites just needed to be sustained for a longer period of time through autophagy rather than doing like a 15, 15, 15, because it was kind of like those next level days were important for me.
Any herbs that you used prior to that?
Excuse me?
Any herbs or
yeah, the herbs that I have, like I make sure my liver is clean, and I'll do like thistle root, but I don't think it's really too important. I think that having a clean colon, like for instance, I think dry fasting cures your organs. So like I'll have pain in my liver, but that'll actually go away because my body was cleaning that out. It's going for any nutrition it possibly can. There's glycogen in there, right? But not really any herbs for me particularly. It probably could be beneficial.
Oh, wow. And how do you listen to Satmarga? Because he speaks Russian.
So it's worth my time and money to pay a Russian translator. So I'll do that, but I'll also kind of put my phone next to my computer and use Google Translate audio. And so it'll translate the entire thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Thank you.
He says like a bunch of, it seems like nonsensical things, like the bird fell into the water and the water, like, I don't know your analogy you're using here, but I can see, like, I get a little kind of cuckoo when I'm dry fasting too, like these analogies and spiritual connotations make more sense to me. But yeah, I actually been speaking with him personally. I'll text him and he'll respond, to some things. I wanted to know authentically, does he take showers when he dry fasts? Because he looks pretty clean. His hair looks kind of fluffy. And he looks like a man who takes showers when he dry fasts, because I'm kind of like a dirty, skinny, skeleton Jesus Christ. I don't look that clean, and I kind of lose a lot more weight than he does. So he told me he just stands in snow, so that's the only water he absorbs. But I don't know. I kind of believe him, I kind of don't.
Right. Thank you for sharing.
For sure.
But you do only one salt flush before each water fast?
It's kind of hardcore for me, so I prefer to do only one salt flush. Have you had it before?
Oh yeah, I don't like it. I hate it.
I don't either. Yeah, it's hardcore.
It's just like drained. It's like, somebody sucks everything out of me.
It's complete like dryness. I feel like you're packing 4 days of dry fasting into a single hour. It's kind of like, it makes me feel dry, and it's just not comfortable for me. But I still do it because I do trust that bit of advice from Satmarga. I do think it kind of cleans your skin and your colon a little bit, but I will hydrate afterwards.
Anything else? Tips from him?
I would say that, so I think that he was kind of like, he's like a believer in being active during your dry fast. So that was kind of like a thing that I didn't know what to do. Should I be resting? Should I be exercising? And in the end of the day, I think that rest is more important, but I am doing jumping jacks every single day. So I will do like 50 jumping jacks because that's kind of like rebounding, helping your lymphatic flow. So you're kind of like instigating something, you know, and then your body's able to kind of use that as food because it wants to eat whatever's in your lymphatic system, right? And so I will do jumping jacks, and but I'll kind of just like sit and rest and just read and write, you know. I won't do too much activity. And I won't even like, go ahead.
Oh, that was my other question of your daily activity. That I wrote it down in the group. That was my question. What did you do from getting up to sleeping?
So I would get up and I would just make sure I'm just kind of I'm becoming present. I'm breathing. I'm doing breathing exercises pretty much all day long. Just so I'm kind of letting go of CO2, and I'm inhaling oxygen. And, you know, your body's using this as, that's your nutrition source, right? You're breathing in the prana. So like 80% of your body's fat is actually exhaled. So 80% of your body's fat is actually exhaled. So when you are going through a dry fast, you're kind of exhaling this and you're assisting this process, right? So I'm also, and also your toxins are existing within your fat cells. So think about that, like you're eradicating toxins and your fat at the same time. Otherwise, you'll have so much fat cells going across your blood that will cause your blood to be thicker and cause a little bit heart issues. So I'll do a breathing technique where I'm forcefully exhaling. So I'll go like, and I'll do that only like several times because it's kind of pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps that process occur.
And then after the breathing,
and then I'll probably go outside, and I will get like 15 minutes of sun that day. So I'll see the sunrise every single day. I'll do sun gazing, and I'll kind of be thankful. Thank you so much, sun, for existing, giving us life, giving us purpose here. And it shows so much gratitude, and I get a lot from that. And I'll like stare into the sun and just be calm. And that really gives me the energy.
I don't need to interrupt. I just put them on.
And so I feel like my body has an experience of photosynthesis. I'm not sure if it's through the skin, but I feel like a lot of energy after that. And it makes me feel like I'm definitely going to reach my goal for dry fasting. You know, I get that breathing in the morning. I get that dew point. I'm breathing in the air in the morning, and I get the sun. But I also asked another dry fasting guru in Russia. He runs like a clinic for people who want to dry fast to cure disease. And it's like Golden Eye Institution in like the Alta Mountains. And this guy he's kind of like Sat Marga. He's really kind of stoic, calm, you know, skinny, you know, angelic beast, you know. So he told me that you kind of don't want too much sun because you're kind of fluctuating your body's temperature too much. So I kind of just took him on his advice. I would just do 15 minutes of sun a day. I really wouldn't exceed that, even though I really, really wanted to be in the sun all day long. Because, you know, the sun makes you tired, even if you're not fasting, right? So kind of, I was just getting just enough to kind of nourish my body. And then I'll kind of go back to my bed and just kind of read and write and let time pass. You know, it's pretty hard to let time pass and reach your goal, you know how it is.
Wow. So no internet, Facebook?
So I'll help as many people as I can. Obviously, when you're dry fasting, you're wanting to read about dry fasting. That's the favorite activity for any dry faster, right? You want to kind of affirm that what you're doing is not completely crazy. Like, give me more information. So I'll read all the literature I possibly can, watch all the videos I possibly can to keep me going. So I will do that, and I'll just journal every day. I'll take my heart monitor. I'll make sure I know my heart rate, and I'll do an EKG. It only costs me $60. I'll put it against my heart, and I'll see the pattern of my heart to see any irregularities. And so that way I know where I'm at biologically. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
If the heart monitor would show you lots of irregularities, would you stop the fast?
Yeah, if it showed me that my body was like consistently above like 110 heart rate and my EKG was having lower levels, then I would stop the fast. It's just kind of like a sign that my body is not in the position that it should be. I didn't detox enough. My colon's not clean enough. And that's usually a colon thing, in my opinion. But sometimes breaking through that 15-day thing, you kind of have to sustain like a heart rate of 110 for like 10 minutes sometimes. And that's dangerous advice for me to say. But if it doesn't lower after 10 minutes, then it's kind of time to break the fast. You shouldn't be sustaining like that high of a heart rate, you know? Sometimes I'll even feel relaxed when it's that high, but I'm like, it's not worth it. I'd rather be living. So
Yeah. Do you ever felt very close to that? Like, because you said you're
Yeah.
okay, whatever happens, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes I do walking meditation and it just comes up like it's all right. It just collapse. Fine for me to time to go, right?
That's funny you say that. And that's kind of, I don't really want to say this, but like I will, I guess. But like I am kind of like, my relationship with death is pretty good. I
Has
I'm
to
not
be.
afraid of it, and that kind of is a big factor in going far in a dry fast. You know, even with a water fast, people going deep, they don't really know. You know, they're kind of happy they woke up the next morning, like, "Ooh, I didn't die." You know, that's kind of cool.
Right on, right on.
Yeah. So it's kind of like I love, you know, God, and I don't care if I go back to Him. So it's worth me. My life enjoyment is so low with disease that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. You know,
Right.
so let's go for it. I feel great. Let's keep it going. You know, and I call it like waterboarding. Like my analogy I think of is like you're taking these parasites out to the ocean to drown them pretty much. And it's kind of like if you stop your fast, they can crawl back to the shore and be like, yes, I have life. But if you bring them far enough out, you can drown them indefinitely and they don't come back. And that's when you know you're healed, is because, like I said, when the symptoms don't come back when you break it, you know, that's when the symptoms usually come back when you break fast. If they don't come back, it's kind of like, ooh, sweet. Now I want to like shout and scream and laugh and pray and like celebrate on the mountain. You know, I love life so much and I don't care about anything else. I'm healed, thank God, you know. So you had this like beautiful celebratory moment that a lot of people don't get to experience in their entire lives. And I'm happy that I found dry fasting to be able to do that. So
Do you formally meditate?
yeah, definitely. So I'll kind of go to my meditative process is kind of is pretty much being still and saying like I don't want or desire anything. I don't want or desire anything. Thank you for this life experience. I don't want or desire anything. Thank you for this life experience. That's what my higher self is telling me. Like, it's coaching me to be like, don't want or desire anything at all. You know, to the point where we're all dry fasting here. We're not even wanting food or water. So
Yeah.
like taking everything away. I don't want a car. I don't want money. I don't want anything at all. I'm completely stripped of everything. So that's kind of like a God state, in my opinion. You're becoming essentially like God. And that's why I think you have such a union with them in a dry fast.
Mm. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I use some of Buddha's teachings, and that's what he reached. But I'm surprised, if I may digress here about Buddha. How come he chose to go back into the food, and at 85 his body just dismantled. He could have taught for a few hundred years, right? If he wanted to.
Yeah, I think he could have. I have a lot of theories about what you just said. I think Buddha was kind of after he didn't even say goodbye to his baby. He was a man on a mission. Like he had a baby, and he's like, I can't look at the baby. I need to go fast. He hung out with other dry fasters because they're all like, we're onto something here. Let's do this. And obviously un, um, they kept kind of unearthing some very very grand spiritual advice for themselves. And they knew something was there, but I think when you break the fast, you get energized to the point where you know you're not taking away from that higher level thinking. That coaching, that godly coaching, is still there for like a good 2 weeks, and then you kind of make your body more and more dense. So my spiritual thought on this is that I have a different interpretation for biblical literature. So Adam and Eve, they took the fig from the fig tree. They ate the apple, right? In my opinion, I think that they were really just spiritual beings. They weren't even like in human form. That was their first edible food to earth them. They grounded themselves with food. You know, this theory might be wrong, but it's kind of like now they didn't have a dependency on God anymore. They weren't using prana. They were essentially grounding themselves because now I'm depending on food. And after that, we started depending more and more on food and less on God. And so that kind of took
Very much share your views.
yeah.
I share your views, actually. I was thinking
Sure.
of that very much so, that we wanted to stay here for a little bit. Okay, God, you can just be up there or whatever, out there, the source. But we
Yeah.
want to stay here. Let me explore. And
Yeah.
now we see our errors a little bit, right?
Yes.
And so I said, okay, now it's time for me to, did somebody shut their, to experience um, the unification, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the beautiful life experience we have is figuring out this maze of life and finding our way back to source, you know, and it's just kind of a complete dependency on God. And I think that once we experience, you know, this kind of how life works, like every suffering is a catalyst for growth, then we can utilize these experiences as for what they are. And then I think that's when you can evolve in your form to a lighter density, you know, so that you evolve in consciousness. And until you figure that out, you just keep going through it over and over again, kind of like Buddha said. Yeah, so now I feel like I can reiterate the same. I really think Buddha and Jesus were more relatable now than I ever have. I think that they were just professional fasters, you know.
Yeah.
You know, crazy people quite like us, you know, they just kind of went hardcore with it. And now we're performing miracles like we're so able to do. Like I had some spiritual gifts that were availed to me during my last fast, actually, that make me sound crazy if I were to tell you.
Please do, please. That's why we have you.
I'll say one quickly. I'm sure people have other physical questions. So this one is crazy, and I didn't plan on sharing this, but
I would love that.
there was a pretty much a big presence of a lot of dogs, stray dogs, kind of roaming the kind of this canyon that I was in, like this valley. And they would just bark all night long. I thought it was like a tropical paradise type of experience, you know, dogs bark throughout the night, just deal with it. Because I'm not really getting much sleep anyway, you know. So after day 15, obviously that's when that parasite finally unlatched. And at that very moment, I started thinking like, why are like English kids in the valley roaming around, talking to each other, kind of communicating, you know? And they were organizing throughout the valley, stationing themselves through kind of simple language, being very mean to each other. And I was like, wow, there's so many English kids here throughout the night. And I realized later on that like I was able to interpret what the dogs were saying to each other. Like I can literally understand. It was like automatic language translation in my mind, to the point where I was like, I wasn't even happy about it. I was like, this is annoying. I can understand what they're saying now. And it's happening for hours and hours and hours. It wasn't like a snippet of 5 seconds. And it was just like really mean, simple banter back and forth and making sure everyone was stationed across the valley and kind of reporting back to the alpha dog, you know, this is what's going on over here, you know. So
that is incredible, Trevor. And
yeah, it was kind of crazy. And I couldn't really interpret what birds were saying, but I can definitely feel like they were just like playful creatures, and I can kind of see their intent. They were just like really happy, you know, it's just like happy entities.
I always imagine birds are always afraid of being eaten. I guess maybe it's not correct.
I think that they're just, I mean, obviously they have a one up on the rest of the animals. They can fly and move fast. I mean, it's pretty hard to eat a bird, you know, but yeah. And the other one was I kind of attempted channeling. So on day like 13, I would kind of sleep outside. I have this urge, like when you get past day 11, you'll feel like a desire to go out and sleep outside, you know. It's just like I don't know.
No more scared of mosquitoes or stuff?
No, because I actually liked it, because mosquitoes would come near me. They're like, I don't even have anything to feed on this guy. He has no blood for, like, you know, it's just kind of like, I don't have sugar in my blood. So like, I'm less desirable for mosquitoes. So they would fly around me and they would just kind of fly away. I wouldn't even care about them. And so that's kind of like a good analogy I use is like when you leave food out in the kitchen, there's fruit flies that kind of come out of nowhere. Like, where the hell do these fruit flies come from? And parasites, for instance, they'll find a way into your body if there's stagnation. So it's kind of like cleanup, you know, there's cleanup that's occurring. And if you have nothing for them to feed on, they won't find their way into you, and they won't kind of linger. Fruit flies won't find their way into the kitchen if you don't leave food behind, right? So the cleaner your vessel is, the less that other things want to come clean it up, you know? But I think this day and age, parasites are becoming way too strong. So I think that theory is not always applicable. So people will be like, parasites are good. Yeah, kind of, but like they also, now they're so strong that they'll just kill you. Are parasites good now that they've killed you? You still support that theory? Because they'll kind of just take as much as they can out from their host, you know?
So what was your spiritual experience going outside?
Just going outside. So
Channeling.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I kind of get go down rabbit holes. My channeling. So my dad passed away 6 years ago from cancer. And it's been hard on my family. I didn't know about dry fasting. I kind of relived that moment thinking like, hey, let's go dry fast and like cure your cancer, but I don't have that ability anymore. So when my dry fast, I can feel his presence through all my dry fast, like late in the dry fast. And sometimes I'll even hear him saying, I'm crazy. I can't believe you're going without food, you know, but I'll hear his presence. I'll even smell his presence. And so if I were a son, if I were a father, I'd want my son to actually do this and communicate with me. So sometimes I'll reach up and hold his hand. But this last fast in particular, I channeled him. I kind of like just got into a meditative state, and I asked, any of my guardians to kind of, can you find my dad? I kind of want to be with him and talk to him right now. And so it took 10 minutes before I finally felt his presence. And he's like, what are you doing in Guatemala on a cliffside right now? Like trying to fast, like, you're crazy. You're a crazy person. I kind of heard him say that. And he was kind of trying to tell me something about a boat and a key, but I couldn't understand him. And I was like, forget it. I'm not good with this channeling thing. And I think it frustrated him that I got him away from whatever he was doing in that spiritual dimension, that he didn't want to make it a lost effort. So I know this sounds unbelievable, but I heard him audibly say my name, Trevor, like 2 feet away from me. And it scared me half to death. I was like shook by it. And it kind of scared me to the point where I was kind of like, I got goosebumps, And I was like, did I hear that? Did I really hear that? And that point I reached up and I kind of just made sure I held his hand if he wanted to hold hands for like a little bit. And then I went back to sleep on the cliffside before sunrise came. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It must be hard to share such intimate, really intimate details.
I think that I prefer to share this information. I think that we're all, together in this, and we're all one.
I want to know how you felt, what you did, because you probably won't be able to sleep, right? 2 hours maximum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much. I'll let other people to share your wisdom and experience.
It was a pleasure talking to you, Arik.
Yeah, it's Tillman from Zurich.
TJ, yes, I've been speaking with you on WhatsApp.
Exactly. So thank you very much for sharing. I think we're all on the same trip here. Aranka, wonderful questions. Really appreciate it. I'm myself on day 41 of a fast. So I think all of us are going through much the same as you are. And it's really nice to hear other people basically voice what we're going through. I not quite as far as you on the dry fasting scene. I want to get there. I'm basically right now varying. I do like 5 days of dry fast and I do a little bit of water and I carry on. And I kind of feel that it's completely changed my life. And the dry fasting, I just want to see from you, I've gone up to day 10, right? And I kind of felt between day 7 and day 10, technically you should feel some kind of transition, what Filanov was saying, but I haven't really felt it yet. And I kind of felt a bit bored, so I stopped. But I like to go on to day 20. I have a feeling that this year you're going to go further than that. So I just want to see from you, how do you motivate yourself, or what is the changes you feel as you go from, say, day 10 to day 20? Because I would definitely want to do that also this year.
Yeah, I think that awesome job going 10 days and being this far on a water fast as well. I think that's a cool way to kind of cheat some days. You go 5 days into a dry fast, then do the water fast. So you're kind of getting 15 days water fasting because it's 5 days dry fasting. So then now you're starting at day 15 water fast. So I love that approach. You have a lot more patience than I do to go 41 days. Well, I mean, that's insane. I think that dry fasting is easier, but you're kind of stopping at the most crucial point. 10 days, I kind of almost don't think anything's happening either. But like when you get to day 11, that's the point of fracture, when things are completely agitated, where I'm kind of experiencing the spiritual side and the physical breakthrough. And day 11 is kind of when I start having these spiritual realizations as well, and I feel cleaner. So I think that obviously a lot of Russian literature will tell you to kind of like 11 days is enough. For me, it's definitely not true. 12 days isn't even enough. So I kind of need to persist a little longer personally. And that's when I've been able to kind of have to trust this process. So what was your question again? I'm sorry.
The question was just basically, how do you go further? Like, how do you, and what are your experiences from day 10 onwards? Because I've done 7, 8, 9, 10 days. And now I want to go there. I just want to see how it feels like. So just tell us like the difference from the first 10 days to the last 10.
So I would actually sometimes feel on day 8 that like, I don't really want to go any farther. I wake up very dry and I'm like, and I didn't really realize how important it was to not mouth breathe. So I'm kind of obsessed with nose breathing. Nose breathing is like just a game changer. because your body prioritizes keeping your mouth dry, and because it prioritizes keeping your mouth wet because it's preparing for food incoming moisture and wants to breathe easier too, so it keeps your esophagus wet. But it takes a lot of energy to keep it wet. So nose breathing, you filter the air, you're getting brain saturation, you're regulating your breathing. It's so much more benefits nose breathing constantly. So that really gets me farther into a fast. Just I'll even tape my mouth shut when I sleep sometimes, and I know because I'll wake up, my mouth will be open, and I feel like breaking my fast. I'm like, oh geez, I'm so dry, like, and it takes a while late into a fast to kind of re-moisturize your mouth. So going farther is just a factor of me knowing what physical feelings I have and to trust them. I can still walk 100 feet. My heart is still calm, therefore I know I have another 24 hours in me. And I've made it double digits. That's hard work getting to 10 days, that's a drudge. So that's an investment as well, as far as I see it. So I've put that in the bank and I'm kind of building on it. That's when it gets juicy and fun, because now you're really accomplishing some really fantastic things. I think this is like a holy walk, so you're made up of ancestral DNA. You're like an amalgamation of thousands of humans before you. So they're almost like all celebrating, like he's doing it, like he's actually like cleaning off like our lineage, we have clean bloodline again. And that's how I view it, is all these ancestral consciousnesses are in your body celebrating that someone finally is strong enough to do this, and that's really the accentuation of the whole family gene pool to kind of accentuate and level up to the next light form consciously, in my opinion. So that's kind of what I experience. But yeah, to go farther, I'm just trusting the process. And sometimes it can be on day 20. I actually didn't want to break. I didn't want to break on day 20. I just felt I took a sip of water in the middle of the night, and I was like, damn, I just took a sip of water. Like my mouth is so dry. And then I was like, maybe I can tie it together with a 2-day dry fast, 2-day water fast to get to day 22 and have like only a cup of water. But then I tasted that sweet, sweet water, and I was like, it's done for. Like I have to break it now authentically. And then I just started sitting on liquids at that point and just enjoyed the effort, I guess. So I think that real inoculation, I know it sounds crazy for me to say this, but if you want to like really get a whole bacterial, like eat clean, 25 to 27 days is kind of like the area you look at, and you'll hear people do this and they're toxic and they'll do it without preparation. And it's very dangerous for them to do that because they'll force it. But it's something that I think I did maybe right. So 20 days is kind of like the next level. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
It does. I think in this room, we are kind of on the leading edge, because I don't know that many people who can actually
broke the 4-minute mile.
Yes, exactly. And it's also really difficult to discuss it. I try to discuss it with some people in Facebook groups, and they just don't. There's very few people who actually do understand. There's a few people who get it, and there's a lot of people you can learn from. But it's just people assume automatically that you die after 3 days. And I find it fascinating, because like now I'm on day 5 of a dry fast inside of this longer fast. And I feel fine. I feel exactly like you. I feel elevated. You just feel so energized.
Yeah.
But it's good to have a venue where you can actually speak to other people about it. I do appreciate this very much.
Totally.
One more question I do have is, I do soft dry fasts, as in I do take showers, because I don't see that big difference. And one thing that helps me sometimes on this, I make my favorite drink, which I crave sparkling water. So I just rinse my mouth with sparkling water, because it's like having the drink. I have to spit it out afterwards. So that kind of helps me when I have a very dry mouth. I'm in a business where I need to do a lot of phone calls. So sometimes my friends complain when I have this like clicky dry mouth when I can't speak. So I need to be able to speak. But for you, is there a difference between dry and soft? Do you do a hard dry fast?
I've done both. It's very, very tempting to do a soft dry fast, and it's very, very tempting, as all you guys might know, to brush your teeth and wash your mouth out. But it's just another obstacle, because so whatever you want, we're utilizing dehydration for healing, right? So whatever you're utilizing, you kind of want to keep that process, because it's tempting to you're not used to dry fasting. So why not just change it up and take a shower? But anything that needs healing, you pretty much don't let that water touch that area. So for me, I needed healing in my gums, like I said before. So if I'm kind of washing it out, that those parasites are getting like a brief temporary break. You know, if I have psoriasis, like they're getting that moisture and they're able to kind of live a bit longer, and you'll kind of like postpone that eradication, that healing. So for me, as much as I want to take showers, I just don't allow myself to, because I'm here to do the thing the right way, in my opinion. So I'll just kind of I'll just keep with the plan and keep going. I mean, you get super dried out, but I think that your body, there's one crazy like ancient dry faster that I'll never forget. He said that he even swallows his own gook that accumulates in the mouth, the whatever, you know, that lymphatic waste. And because your body will actually eat this up, like it uses it as food. So it's kind of like cannibalizing itself. I don't really like that process. I kind of like spitting out the waste. And I do a lot of tongue scraping because
Me too.
You do,
Me too.
yeah. It's super.
It comes. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's a super great thing to assist your body with. I think that that's one of the best things you can do, because your gastrointestinal tract is actually the end is your tongue. And this is an important quality to know, is that your mouth is still producing sugars, and the parasites and candida go to where there's sugar being produced, because that's the only source. So that's why the tongue is such a good map for how far along the healing is. And then when you're scraping, it's kind of like they're all bundling into one area, and you're scraping off like that area, and you feel so good afterwards. And that also allows you to go farther. So using a copper tongue scraper is helpful. And that's kind of, I think that like 99% of people have candida, and that's kind of like a bacterial overgrowth that's affecting their mindsets as well. So that's how I kind of have a barometer of how far along my dry fasting is. I kind of go as far as it requires till my tongue is pink, you know? So I had a problem with that initially. So that's how I kind of saw, like, my tongue would get discolored and it would get like red in some spots when I was first healing. And I was like, ooh, this is actually disrupting something. And that's when I knew, like, as soon as it kind of started dissipating, which was like day 13, day 14 for me, was when I was kind of onto it, just kind of sustain the dry fast long enough. With water fasting, you can achieve this as well, obviously getting a pink tongue. But I had a mucosal parasite, so it required water to live. So that's why I kind of wanted to go towards dry fasting as well. So at first I did 5 days when I first started off, and I thought that was monstrous. Oh my gosh, how can someone go 5-day dry fast? Like, this is insane. I can't even tell anybody about it. And then I thought I was healed of everything. Like, why, like, this is long enough to heal anything, of course. But I was far from the truth. Little did I know I'll be doing a 20-day dry fast, and 5 days would be kind of like measly to me in the end. But yeah, anybody who goes farther than 3 days, I have a lot of respect for, because I think I have to remember that that's a long time, you know, and you just kind of did something very powerful in your life, you know, like you kickstarted this introduction to this higher level consciousness, and you're onto something here, you know.
Totally with you.
Break your fast. Sorry, how did you break your fast? Just water?
So I think I broke my fast with water. Yeah, just water for like a good 8 hours. But like Gandhi and all these good alkaline resources, they say that the orange is like the most complete food in the world. It has the citrus in it, and it also has the glucose in it to give you energy. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch, you know. So I like to dilute fresh orange juice in a little bit of the water, and I'll kind of get that, you know, that feeling that my body requires. Yeah, because the citrus is obviously cutting that lymphatic waste, and sometimes deep into a fast, all I crave is chugging lemon juice to kind of like just cut through all the lymphatic waste that my body just found, and it kind of will just like flush it out. So some people say don't break with citrus. I disagree with that. I think I'm further detoxing than I do. So, but I do it like a light form. Oranges aren't that like hardcore of a citrus. So
interesting.
So, yeah.
I crave lemon all the time.
Yeah.
Like lemon, water, lemon, just this, because it's strangely in our body, it's alkaline, even though it's a citrus fruit. But it's a really, it's the one thing I crave, like just a glass of water with lemon slices. Same here. But just that's like, what body tells me too.
Yeah, it's so true. I think that I feel crazy sometimes because I feel like one of those people who's like, blueberries will cure cancer. Like, okay, blueberries will cure cancer, cool. But lemons are just like this magical fruit that actually is as powerful as we feel it is. It's so beneficial for the body. So I always have a bag of lemons in my refrigerator to break in the morning. Every morning I have lemon juice because you're fasting every night. You're actually dry fasting every single night. So that's what I kind of tell people. People will lose weight because of their lemon juice break in the morning, because they're actually like breaking down the lymphatic waste in their body, and they think they're losing weight, but it's really just lymphatic weight that they're losing.
And then one more question: when you say you supplement potassium, what do you actually use for this?
So this is an area that I could be wrong in, because I think my body probably has enough potassium stores in it. But I generally feel less dizzy when I kind of supplement potassium chloride. So I'll actually use something called no salt. It's
okay.
Yeah, I use that, and so that kind of extends me far enough so I don't feel dizzy at all during my fast if I supplement enough of that. Bananas aren't really high enough of a potassium source for me, so I can't really depend on them. So I go for potassium chloride.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because I heard about it. I just wanted to get another reference for it, because I understand it definitely helps.
Definitely. So
now you need to tell us about your roadmap this year. What's your, are you going to do the 25 or 28? I'm going to do your advice now. I'm going to go for see if I can do the 21.
Yeah, and like honestly, the analogy I like to use, the 21 is like a very, very special day to go to. I think that's very few human beings do that, and you're in a very rare bunch of humans who have accomplished that. It's like such a spiritual walk. I think that I haven't told anybody this really, just you guys and like one trusted source, but like I'm gonna go in April. I'm gonna try to do a 27 day. And the analogy I like to use is like, you're only limited by your toxicity. People want to go surfing, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go out to the shore, but the waves will just bring them back to the shore, because you're not skilled enough to kind of get past the waves. So like just with dry fasting, you might want to do 20 days, but your body's going to throw you right back on shore and be like, you can't go this far. The toxicity is too far. And you can't even kill yourself, even if you wanted to, in my opinion. It's kind of like, you break it and then you go again the next time, maybe hopefully farther. And what I've discussed with you guys is kind of my tactics to go as far as possible. So in April, I'm going to try to do 27 days. So I'm going to do 9 days, and I'm going to drive my car to Asheville, North Carolina, get by a river, and kind of start doing my process of meditation and letting the days pass by while I journal, and hopefully make it to 27 days. So we'll see. I don't really see myself going farther than that. The 40-day dry fast is kind of a tall order. So I think that 27 days is kind of a good limit for me. Yeah. Because I kind of had a discussion with God on my last fast too. He's like, don't forget this lesson. Like, and I have these visions, like you feel like Jesus Christ, honestly, because you're like, teach the world, show the world. This is really how you evolve. Like, we're in economic slavery. Like, people think that you need to kind of be tethered to this control structure that we have on this planet. It's all across the planet. We've completely created a new blueprint, like I'm sure you realize, but we don't have to do that. We can literally not serve this capitalistic monster at all, and just kind of do what Nikola Tesla said, just exist within like frequency, vibration, and sound, and just that's our technology. It's not real technology. The technology really is vibrations, because we're actually sound instruments, in my opinion. Not to go deep, but I think that all of our physical bodies are really just truth vessels. You let information hit you, and if it makes you feel good, that's truth. If it doesn't make you feel good, that's not truth. So like, you're letting it kind of sit with you, and that's what I think the human body
resonates with you.
Say what?
It resonates with you.
Yeah, exactly. So if it makes you feel like warm and like that's kind of coming from a good source, But if it makes you feel kind of uncertain or sad, not so much. It's darkness. I mean, I can go on and on about this kind of stuff, but
if you want to make money, Trevor, if you ever wanted to, you could sell your journal. I would buy them printed.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah, it's kind of all part of my plan. When I first started dry fasting, I realized that I wanted to sustain myself through my own real estate business, so that I'm not asking for any money from anybody at all through health, because I think it should be more of a gift than like, hey, I'm selling some apparel and here's my book. Like, the thing that kind of let me go to the next level was I think that we're all one. By helping you, I'm helping myself, you know? So I went through this, and if people don't have this, I'm not going to keep it for myself. Hey, I have the gold here. You have to come to me for it. You know, it's not like that. It's more so, let's all find God together.
Okay, great. Great to hear that you're willing to share your journal one day.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to have some crazy things in it, though.
I'm all for it.
Hi, Trevor. It's Pete from the UK. I think that I'd be interested to find out what your normal daily food is. You mentioned obviously leading up to the fasting, you go raw vegan, which is pretty much where I am. Probably about 90% raw vegan, fruitarian. So I just wondered what your sort of normal eating habits were like. Are you omnivore or because I've had some discussions on some carnivore sites that do dry fasting, and I think that's a bit of an oxymoron because obviously you've got quite a bit of fetal matter stored up in your colon that's not getting through because of the lack of fiber, and I just think that it's a bit ridiculous, to be honest, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, it's just what's your general sort of food preparation when you're not dry fasting?
It sounds like you already have the answer, you know, without even without even asking it. I mean, you obviously see that your skin looks great. I mean, your eyes, a fruitarian's eyes are obviously whiter. Your eyes come out. You can see the healing occur. I think that you know, carnivore diets, I think that hopefully it doesn't stay around too long, because I can see that evolving into an unhealthy state where people are starting to eat living animals while they're alive. You know, it's kind of weird to think that, but like, hey, that's where the nutrition is, where the blood's still pumping. That's what animals do. It's just, I think that's darkness. I think that's spiritual darkness. And I think that they need to come back towards the light, which is a raw vegan approach like you're doing. I usually just eat raw vegan as much as possible. And as a matter of fact, I kind of just rather sustain myself off of dates and oranges. You're like, I think you're getting the minerals from the
I love
dates.
dates as well.
Yeah, I can go overboard. I'm like, I just can't stop, you know, you have them in the front seat. But yeah, you're getting pretty much all you need there. And I think that as long as you do that one long dry fast and you sustain yourself with dates and oranges, I think that you can live past 200 years on this earth. But I kind of have this theory that obviously coronavirus kind of swifted across the world very fast, but all other microorganisms do as well. I think that we all kind of possibly have a bacteria that's like preventing us from living past 120 years. And unless you do that long dry fast, unless you do that long fast, then you're actually enabling yourself to live a longer lifespan, as long as you keep your blood clean. I think that we all essentially die from blood clots. You know, your heart finally stops pumping, right? So it's a blood clot of some sorts, you know, because when you get older, your immune system stops, slows down, and that's when the parasites can kind of come in on board, and they cause all these blockages, lymphatic blockages, blood blockages. And the bad diets don't help as well. So it eventually causes such a beaver dam that you just can't live any longer, you know? So obviously I feel like I look 10 years younger every time I dry fast once you get the hydration in you. So my diet is becoming, that was a one hard thing to uproot in my life, because I would kind of go back to those nostalgia foods, you know? Even I'll go back to salmon or like chicken and be like, this is not okay. Like, and so now I'm really authentically living what I'd say, which is, you know, just eating intuitively, you know, so I'm only eating when I'm hungry, because that way it doesn't have control over my psyche or my conscious. I'm able to be a light form. Now that I've experienced that good shit, I want to stay on that higher level. I want to keep running on clouds, you know, because it's too good. I know my true self at that state. Like, you really can't trust your thoughts if you're constantly eating all day long. You're not really your true self, you know. People don't really know that, you know. But yeah, this is just all like kind of the cool stuff that I would love to just tell the world, but you know, they're not going to stop with their addictions.
This is one of the things that, because I sort of went through a big transition about 4 years ago, 2016, when I had quite a few different ailments that I got in touch with. Well, I initially come across John Rose doing the juice feasting, and then it was Dr. Morse, and I don't know where I found out about dry fasting from, but I just instinctively, I basically did about 16 days of a major green juice, about two liters of green juice, and then honeydew melons. I did that for about 16 days, and then I came across the dry fasting, and I just suddenly did 72-hour dry fasts every week, But I got, you know, as everybody does, the increasingly thins, and I wasn't enjoying the way I was looking, and I sort of stepped that back quite a bit, and then obviously just reverted back to sort of a normal sort of fruitarian, raw vegan diet. I've added a bit of cooked food back in because with kids and things, it's difficult to try and stick to 100% raw. But I've done it quite a few times, and I've done 4 or 5 days dry fast as well. And I'm planning to do a 7-day over the Easter holidays. So that'll be my longest that I've done, but that's my plan. And obviously leading up to it, it's good to know, because I was a bit skeptical about doing enemas. I've never done an enema before. And I think me leading up to my previous dry fast haven't been the best. I've still eaten a little bit of cooked food even the day before, so I've had that left in my colon. And like you say, it's just been stuck in there for those few days. And even in day 3, 4, I've had a bowel movement, so I've obviously still got stuff in there to clear out. But yeah, I'm interested on the breaking of the dry fast as well, because some people talk about veggie broths, but I'm more drawn to sort of coconut water or even orange juice for a couple of days is something that definitely resonates with me quite a bit.
For me, I think that, yeah, I'm the same page as you. For me, breaking a fast is essential. Not only like staying on liquids, but like limiting your movement after such a long fast, because you might be kind of impatient. You want to live your life again, but in reality, what ends up happening is you'll actually experience extreme dehydration every 20 minutes. So if you were to kind of engage in life and you sip on water, you think you're normal again, and for your entire life you have been normal, but it's not the same, because that's when you can get yourself in very precarious situations. You go to live your life and you're away from a water source, because now you're on external nutrition and your body's accepting water externally. So it transitions. So now every 20 minutes, you're kind of experiencing like, oh my gosh, give me some water. You'll even wake up in the middle of the night, like craving hydration, unlike you were for the entire dry fast, you know? So it's best not to really leave, you know, a resting state still for like 48 hours. You know, you still want to hydrate safely in bed. And it's kind of painful to do, but you have to attach another 2 days onto the long fast. I've gotten myself into some precarious situations learning that lesson. Yeah, it's been, thank God I got through it, but I had to get back to my, you know, home base and hydrate again safely. So to comment on the carnivore thing though, another thought I had was, you know, I can definitely see the difference when I'm if I go back to meats, I feel this carnal, visceral aggression that's not natural, you know, and it's just kind of like, wow, I'm actually
parasites going back into your system then, or?
I think it's more so just the meats, you know, it's the hormones I'm getting from the meat, because like I'm kind of getting the energy it had before its death, you know. Say it was like an unclean death, you know, I'm actually getting that panic, that nervousness, this self-consciousness will be a thing. I'll even have like violent or lustful thoughts that aren't like really my own, and I don't have that during an alkaline diet. So it's kind of carnivores are depending on that animal to eat the nutrition that they need, right? So I'm eating the animal because that animal's eating responsibly, but I'm not. So we're just
cutting out the middleman, aren't we?
Say what?
We're just cutting out the middleman, aren't we?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a lazy effort, but obviously it's sad that people depend on it so much. But you know, they'll come around.
So there's a different school of thought that, because I know somebody who is heavily involved in the herbs and doing parasite cleanses and things, and he talks a lot about the every illness under the sun, you know, is caused by a parasite. And the more you talk about it, it sort of rings true, because it's the culture medium. I've heard Bruce Lipton talk about the culture medium is the source, and that then draws the parasites in, and that then what makes you ill. So obviously, Dr. Morse talks about stagnant lymphatic constipation, but that's only the cultured medium to then draw in the parasites to make you ill. Is that what you sort of?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, there's Dr. Morris, I kind of go back and forth on his physical body doesn't look like a body I want to have at his age, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But he had dry fasting up at the highest level of the pyramid of detoxification. He took it off, because now he's liable for anything that might happen because of that. That's why these conversations are kind of dangerous. People can take this and do it improperly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has said in some recent videos, I think, well, in the last couple of years, he's trying to bring in the dry fasting a bit more. I think that's what I'm sort of taking from him when I've watched him more recently. But yeah, I think he's still a bit hesitant about pushing the dry fasting a bit.
He's a very intelligent talker. He has a way of talking that engages people. He knows how to he's almost more of a public speaker than he is a doctor sometimes. He's just kind of getting people to kind of go along with the process. But he's gotten people to be very disciplined. They go like years just on juice, and they get a lot of benefits. Same benefits you get from a very short fast on dry fasting, like you don't have to spend years and sacrifice a lot of time, but it shows so much discipline. He's getting people to kind of really be committed for sure.
Definitely.
People are obsessed with him.
I think that I don't know how much you know about all this, the rabbit holes about what's going on with the world at the moment, and I don't want to go too much in sort of the adrenochrome stuff that are kicking about. But one thing about the Nasara and Jasara that we're talking about is the release of med beds and these frequency beds, which there's apparently 3 different states that you can actually heal anything just by causing to change of frequency. Obviously, we know that's the premise of going through the dry fasting is, increasing your awareness, increasing your frequency and your consciousness. And I'm certainly moving a lot more into spirituality because of doing the meditation, breath work, and hot and cold therapies. And I think it's all a holistic approach. And my aim, long term, is to get a sort of a fasting clinic in somewhere in the UK. A bit of land, just away from everyone, seeing near the sea, near the mountains, quite humid, possibly somewhere in Wales, but we'll see if that happens. But it's one of my passions that I want to help people, and I'm actually completely with you in respect of I think health is a God-given right, and I have a real problem charging people for my coaching. To the point where I've done, quite a bit free consultations, free advice, and I feel quite satisfied doing that. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't resonate with me that I charge for that information. So I'm completely 100% with you on that. But other people have tried to say, well, you actually charge you for the information you've gleaned over the time that you've done it yourself. But I still have problems charging for it.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying, because in that moment you need something, right? So you're needing their money for your services, and at the end of the day, we don't need anything at all, right? We should be out water and food, as a matter of fact. Regarding the frequencies and vibration you're talking about, there's definitely different things that probably come naturally to your mind. You can go barefoot on the ground, you can sing, you can dance, you can fast. I think dry fasting is the most high vibrational thing you can do, to the point where a rock has very low vibration. A human being has high vibration. What has higher vibration than that is crystals and light, So that's kind of like where we're heading, in my opinion, is that vibration. So how can we kind of be that before we're ready for it, is by doing these things, connecting to the earth, not like kind of subscribing to the current modern dependency on food and money, As a matter of fact, I'm even tempted just to give it all away, and just kind of go to the jungle and tropics, and that would kind of leave an imprint on people as well, because like, wow, this person just gave everything up altogether and just needs nothing, So
that sounds heaven.
it's heavy, but that kind of shows you how hardcore I can get. It's kind of like, I'll drive fast 20 days, but I also am considering doing that as well. We live such a short life, and I really want to kind of, now that I saw the white light, I kind of want to do it properly and make this incarnation worthwhile,
It's bringing the heaven down to earth, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so like, and this could be viewed as a hell. We're constantly suffering for a catalyst. We need the suffering. So you're constantly going through that cycle of suffering, eternal suffering, right? So as soon as you can ascend is when the suffering stops. And apparently, this is the form of life that has the most suffering. So
it depends what. I mean, I've heard a lot of stories about soul contracts before you before you actually born into the world, and you obviously write down whatever experiences you want to experience, because this is probably the hardest, planet to live on, as you say, and it resonates with me that if you don't fulfill those experiences in the soul contract, then that's when you get reincarnated. But if you fulfill those experiences, you can actually renegotiate your soul contract. So I'm still a bit skeptical about that bit, but that's something that does resonate with me as well.
I think that there is a high possibility that we have lived previous lives. Maybe they're all existing at one time, like maybe my future self has already evolved, maybe it's all it's just confusing because we exist in time. But I think that through fasting, I've realized that I have had karmic detoxing to accomplish from my previous lives. I feel like I had more of a proclivity towards a bad vibration. I would be kind of more open to darkness. Like, as a matter of fact, I've had experiences in my dreams, because your dreams get like super beneficial after 11 days dry fasting. You start utilizing it as kind of like a communication of sorts. I'm not sure if you authentically travel or not, but like I'll have dreams sometimes where demonic entities don't want me to kind of convey this information. They don't want me to dry fast longer. They don't want me to heal. And I'll kind of have like a communication with them, being like, listen, I'm not trying to do your thing here. I'm actually like a God guy. I'm a loving guy. So I'm not ever going to be a darkness guy. So they tend to piss off when I say that. Sometimes it's kind of like almost laughable. I'll be like, I just pray for the white light, bathe me in your love. And like, they just scatter. It's almost as if like they were never there. And I had to laugh. It's just kind of like, well, that worked. Like, all I had to do was ask for the white light for 1 second. So yeah, the white light obviously is the infinite intelligence and the ultimate dry faster, which is God himself, needs nothing at all.
Yeah.
Pete, that's actually a very good thought, what you said about raising some funds to actually support not promote, but let's say support these activities. Because I think a lot of people don't like us to promote it, because everybody knows fasting is very dangerous and very bad and it kills us. So it's just for the kind of people that do want to do it. So let me see if I can put something together, some kind of foundation that supports these activities, because there is enough funds out there. We just have to channel them towards this, because it's.
Totally. Well, I'm hoping that as part of this Dasara project that's going on, Dasara, that I've invested heavily in some Vietnamese dong, and if it transpires, it's going to be a 1-to-1 conversion rate for the quantum financial system that's supposed to be coming into effect. Then I'll have enough funds to do that. More than enough.
Sometimes I wonder if the powers in control do know that this is kind of like the exit route, like it'll disrupt the pharmaceutical industry, because obviously they have a good stranglehold on us. Why was the world dry fasting record at 18 days? It was from somebody who wasn't even being supervised, So let's kind of cap it off at the perfect amount of days that it takes to really inoculate a disease, 18. So it's kind of like putting it's more fear, and that's why I don't.
The world's being run by fear at the moment, isn't it? That's the problem.
Yeah. So I think that it's just, it kind of caps people off. 3 days, you guys say, and then 18 days is kind of another cap, constantly creating barriers. And obviously when you come out with this information, these foundations, they might be against, the agenda of the people in power. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of had some pushback on that.
Yeah, Trevor, actually what you're saying at this point is what I think I wanted to actually emphasize on, because if you look at the way of the fast in the Bible, you find Moses did a 40-day dry fast. Then health brought us here, the issues of health, the medical issues. And they told us, those who are ahead of us, don't go past 12 days, don't go past 11 days. So I've been struggling with this truth. I'm like, no, if somebody did it that time, what is it that at this particular time we can't do it? Even Jesus Christ himself did a 40-day. So it comes to a point where I'm struggling with this 11-day mark, because I don't find it anywhere, or the 12-day mark. I don't find it anywhere, even in the Holy Scripture. So I think at this point, until we get to that point where the way it was done in the Scriptures, we might not get that, we may not be satisfied. We are in a journey because you are like a pioneer going ahead of us, but we are also in the same path, going together with you, sharing the same mindset, sharing the same, whatever it is. And then the other thing that you have also added that I think it's more of a spiritual fast, the spiritual forces, this demonic entity. It is something that I do experience. I didn't know that somebody else has the same thing somewhere else. When you find yourself fasting every now and then, you find a point where you are like being pressed down. Don't go on with those demonic forces. So I think there's kind of an interconnection where this kind of a force are the ones that are giving people the ideas of these people should not go past this, these people should not go past this, because these ideas must be coming from darkness, not light. Light gives us freedom. Light gives us, we can do the way what our master did, Christ Jesus, what is written in the scriptures. So I think this is one of the best webinars I've ever had, ever. This is the best ever. So I know many people still have so many things to say, but we can still continue a little more. And then I'm feeling that we should have another one next week. That's my feeling, because I think we may not exhaust everything tonight.
Yeah, there's infinite amount of topics we can talk about, and I think you tapped on a lot of these things. Sometimes I see people walking around and I see that they're obviously under the control of parasites and they're not thinking with their true mind. And I just want to shake them and be like, hey, just do this real quick. I guarantee you're going to feel a lot clearer and a break from this depression you might be having. But you can only lead a horse to water. You can't force him to drink it. And for me, like the shorter fasts, like, people kind of feel like, oh, I'm doing a 3-day fast here 1 week and I'll do a 3-day fast the next week. I knew my parasites on such a level that like they can repopulate twice in size in just 48 hours, So if you take off that time, what do you know? Like that army is built back up and you're starting from square one again. You'll feel overall health, but the parasite is still going to be lingering, So for me, it was a matter of quality and not quantity. So I had to kind of go deeper with it. So I saw the accentuation of autophagy. So it was just a matter of staying there long enough and not that quantity of fasts. Obviously, I had to get myself to that level and be detoxed enough to reach that amount of days. But in the end, it was the quantity of days that did it. But yeah, there's definitely a conscious demonic entity with these parasites. They'll make you want to quit, to make you be depressed and feel these feelings. And it's a very interesting thing to get past. You feel euphoria in heaven directly afterwards, and it's a pretty amazing feeling.
I definitely recommend that. I've read the Phoenix Protocol just recently. I got it for Christmas actually, and yeah, a lot of science that's backs it up as well. So that was interesting.
Awesome. Yeah, I've kind of I wrote a book as well that has like a bunch of science intertwined. It kind of describes my whole journey. Yeah, I mean, there's another book called the Asean's Gospel of Peace. It's kind of like the book they found in the Vatican. They transcribed it back in the early 1900s. Long story short, Jesus Christ was kind of teaching his disciples, like, this is how you dry fast. That's kind of like left out of the Bible, a dry fasting protocol. He also did the 7-day thing. He made them do a 7-day dry fast, and to kind of ironically put their feet into mud. So you're kind of you're grounding yourself to the point where you're an electrical being. And then he was involved in sun gazing. So the 7-day dry fast, putting your feet in mud, sun gazing. I did have one really interesting experience on day 16, which was I felt like I was being electrocuted. I was on the earth and I was kind of feeling like a complete electrocution, some like very high energy, to the point where I had to like walk back to my bed and lay down. I didn't know, I never felt that before. And I don't know if what my body was utilizing, or if I was really getting a Guatemalan energy surge through that point in time. There's volcanoes like erupting like nearby as well. I mean, there's a lot going on in that general area, but yeah.
Trevor, what was that book called again? The second one you mentioned. Thanks for the book, Pete, the Phoenix Protocol. I need to get it now. I wanted to get it before.
Yeah, it's called the Asean Gospel of Peace. So it's ESSENE. Apparently this book has been a game changer for a lot of people that I respect in my circle. And I can attest that it is. It's pretty profound. It's a good one.
I think I've got a PDF of it somewhere. I might stick it in the group if I can find it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a link I can share. It's pretty much like somebody put together all these fasting literatures that are kind of in Russian and different languages. And I kind of read through all of them through different authors that I respect. And it's just a link that kind of stores them all. So I'll share that within the group today as well.
Trevor, I have a question. When I was fasting one time, I experienced this thing where my face was like buzzing and it felt like almost like I couldn't move my hands in my face. And I got really scared and I laid down, but it was like a buzzing, like electricity. And I had to like wait it out for like an hour and then it went away. And then it came back again after another fast. And it was almost like the whole reality was tilted. Like it was like I felt like I was walking like at a 45-degree angle, but it's like this buzzing like takes over the hands and the body. And it's just, I don't know if it was panic or what. Have you ever experienced anything similar?
No, I mean, the electrocution that I kind of felt in the previous statement, but I think that, I think about a few different things when you say that. One is, your blood may have been thick and is not making it to your extremities. And it's kind of tingling, having a tingling sensation because there's not as much blood that can reach it. Your blood wants to be near your heart to pump. So it prioritizes being near your vital organs. Secondly, it could be your nerve endings are being cleaned. There could be some kind of parasitic amalgamation at your nerves, and that's allowing you to finally experience a reactivation in your nerves, your hands and your feet and your head. And the other third observation possibly could be you're draining so much lymph from your head that you're experiencing a tilt, you're experiencing an imbalancing because it's kind of detoxing one side of your ear before the other. And so once that finally adjusts, you'll be able to rebalance. Because I know it takes a bit for my head to kind of drain of all the lymphatic waste that's in there. So it could be one of those three things. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I think you're right, because after I panicked because I was just like, oh my God, I've taken this too far. And then like after 45 minutes of laying down, I felt like refreshed, better than I've ever felt in my life. And I'm, going to be 44. So I was just like, wow, like maybe that was like a release of energy, and maybe it was just kind of like a rush. I don't know. It was good. Like looking back now, I always think like, am I going to ever experience that again? Or was that like mercury or like, it's hard to tell because you can't really talk to people about it.
I love that. I know people will look at you like you're crazy. I love that you experienced that and you're talking about it now. I think that's definitely worth writing down because I'm fascinated by the different modalities my body will utilize to get the job done. So my body will even kind of have the symptoms of a flu sometimes or a cold. And I trust that process. I'm like, yes, my body's found something. It unearthed something in my body. It's uprooting it. The electrocution could be another version of that. It's kind of going through different tools that it has in its complexity to detox that body. That's one of the many tools. I even experience dryness. My body will temporarily experience extreme dryness, and it feels like I should break the fast, but it's really just my body utilizing that to attack a certain parasite that requires being dried out, and then I'll actually get moisture again. And I'm like, perfect, let's keep going. Like there's so many obstacles that can make people break it fast. And I think that trusting the body is like the ultimate understanding for this.
Can I add something here? Because I've had massive tingling, I'm in week 7, I think right now. So I've had massive tingling in my arms, my legs, my fingertips. And it's just an exciting part of the process. And I think Trevor touched on something very important here, that all of these things, when you experience something like a massive symptom, you can either let it out or you can keep it in. That's how you view it. So if you let it out, you feel something is coming out that needed to be healed, that needed to be dealt with. And view it as an adventure. View it as like an exciting part, that you're onto something. You're on the right path. The good things are happening because you're experiencing all these crazy symptoms. Like during the past 7 weeks, I have adrenaline weeks. I have weeks where I need to sleep all the time, weeks where I cannot sleep, where I sleep 2 or 3 hours a night. And I can't control it. I just let it happen. But I just view it as an exciting part of the process, that your body is basically burning through different layers of who you used to be, and you become who you really are. You go back to who you really are. So it's not that something dangerous. If it makes you nervous, sit down, take a bit of time, step back if you have to, start afresh. But it's always a layer that you go through, or a line that you actually step through onto the next stage. So it's actually viewed with excitement rather than with trepidation.
Yeah, I definitely concur with that observation. In my opinion, dry fasting attacks the adrenals first. It wants to fix that for some reason. And I think that this topic is tied to that. Like, it's just like an adrenal detoxification.
I think all of us suffer from some degree of adrenal burnout, because we've been, for the last 40 years, all of us, or however old we are, we've been inundated with media, with friends, with stress. And I think stress is so powerful that our body needs to, a lot of people gain weight, not I think because they should gain weight, because our body needs to store all these emotions somewhere, all these traumas. And it uses fat cells as a safe repository for, especially for toxins, but also for emotions. And when we go through it, we basically experience all of this in reverse, that we need to burn through all those emotions again. That's why you also experience, I think we've touched on this before, when you fast, a lot of waves of, you're feeling depressed or sad or happy, or all sorts of emotions that just were stored, and we had to basically burn because they were just sitting in our body. So this cleaning process is just a very exciting process.
I think the information within water, I think water actually holds quite a bit of information as it is. So obviously, you say storage in the fat cells as well is completely in agreement with that. But I think it's the actual water that stores the information. And obviously, if you got a lot of the negative energy, then that's also stored in the water too.
There's actually a beautiful book by a Japanese scientist about this. I'll just bring it up in a minute. Totally right. Agree with you.
Yeah, I think that's scientifically proven at this point, that if you look under a microscope at a water formation, if you talk positively to it, it obviously has more fractals. It's more beautiful, pleasing to the eye.
Exactly.
Trevor, one thing I wanted to have a quick word with you about was you mentioned that you touched a bit about on exercise. I'm quite passionate about calisthenics and bodyweight training, and I've had some discussions with Chris Manley before. I don't know whether you know Chris, but he does a lot of CrossFit. He's bordering on breatharian. He says he does liquid liquidarian pretty much, I think, nowadays. But he doesn't see himself as doing dry fasting. He just has liquid. He has liquid between his dry fasts, if that makes sense. But he does a lot of CrossFit. Obviously, taking the body to extremes in that respect. I know it sort of goes against the grain of thought that when you fast, you must rest. But if we are heading towards a breatharian state, then our daily lives, especially in our human body, has got to be active pretty much daily. So it's trying to find that probably the happy medium, I think. But
Yeah.
I like pushing my body to the extremes.
That guy Sat Marga obviously is active every single day. In my opinion, I'm going into uncharted territory, so I'm going to do it like safely. And I want to guarantee that amount of days. So I kind of value rest, and I do minimal jumping jacks, minimal movement, because I'd rather have my body's energy utilized towards cleaning. So I don't think that anybody that exercises that hard is going to really make it that deep. I do think lymphatic help is necessary, but for me, I was able to reach farther lengths in dry fasting through resting, through not really kind of exerting myself too much. But
I suppose if you get the 27 days and you do that a couple of times, then you can start adding a bit more the exercise back in and
exactly
that way. Yeah,
that's the plan. Like, as soon as I trust the process a little more, I'm going to involve more exercise and possibly open up the door to breatharianism altogether. So and then I'll really, really trust it. It's just like a faith process, you know.
I think it's a really a question I also have because I used to do like you. I used to do also a lot of high intensity training, calisthenics, because it's a beautiful way of just activating all the core muscles. But I have a golden retriever. That's why I usually walk. I live next to Mount Zurich, so I usually walk her 2 or 3 hours at night. So it's kind of, I think walking is a nice exercise because it actually allows you to breathe a lot, because we need a lot of oxygen. And it's a non-impact way of doing it. I don't have a choice. I have to go for like 2 or 3 hours a night. But half the people say when you do a long fast, you should just rest completely. And the other half say, you should combine it with hard exercise. But with you, I'm actually more on the resting or light exercise way. I think you need to move a bit to activate your lymphatics. But I wouldn't go in terms of rigorous exercise. What's your thoughts on this?
I completely agree. I mean, one of the ways I was able to kind of unlock that parasite in my voice box throat area was by doing light exercise. So I think I dislodged something enough to finally activate that healing, so that was kind of an epiphany. And I was like, oh my gosh, light exercise is where it's at. I need to do more of that. But, at the end of the day, I'm trying to be very, very gentle with my heart, because that's really the barometer of how far I'm going to fast in the end, So it's just kind of, I'm just being careful with that. I'm not trying to exert my heart too much when it already has a task unto itself. But yeah, light exercise. I'm not going to go running. I'm going to do light walking, breath exercises, and chill, It's only 20 days. I just need to kind of really relax and not make it too complicated.
I had a totally different experience because I also did a 15-day dry fast. And for me, it was like the more I walked and the more I exercised, my lymph mode and all my detox symptoms were like dryness or giddiness or this hot flashes and cold flashes and feverish, and all those symptoms went away by itself.
That's awesome. Yeah, I probably should take a page out of your book. I think that I went back and forth on my last fast with that, and I was walking, I was doing light exercises, but I wasn't doing too much. But yeah, I'm happy that worked out for you, walking as much as you did during your 15-day.
But what didn't work out for me is my breathing problem. And that's what I wanted to ask you today. Did you have breathing problems, and how did you solve those?
Can you explain exactly what breathing problems you had?
Like the day I had the breathing problem, that means that I couldn't breathe. My breathing was so shallow, I couldn't breathe at all. I had gone morning 4 hours in the forest, walked 20 kilometers. Before that, morning 6 to 7, I had done 10 kilometers on the epileptic bike. I was perfectly fine. I came home. I went for shopping for some 2 hours. And then I came home. I had all the energy, and suddenly then my breath became shallow. I started panicking. I had a lot of chest pain. And that is when I thought, now I cannot do it. I tried to control it another half an hour, like Ivana said, with cold air and with cooler and everything. But I just couldn't breathe, and I had to break the fast.
Yeah. So I think that, obviously this is kind of the symptoms people usually have right before a panic attack. And I think that it is a transition in the body. In my opinion, it's a lack of potassium, actually, because if I ever experience that, I'll make sure I get as much oxygen to my body as possible, because it has potassium stores. You just have to access them. Okay. And it's just a function of you possibly not taking as much potassium as you need before a fast. But I can feel that chest pain, a shortness of breath, and usually dizziness is to follow. These are all symptoms of a low potassium body. But I'll just kind of like take deep breaths. I'll do box breathing, where you do like a deep breath in for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, deep exhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds. It's pretty much everything you do is 4 seconds. And then your heart will calm down, and you'll get through that, in my opinion. But if it persists, obviously, it's the time to break.
I also think just a minute, I also think the issue of, she's saying she was in the forest, and it could be the water vapor too, because of depending on the humidity of the area. Maybe she had inhaled a lot of vapor. So I think we also check on the humidity, on your area. Because when it's too much, again, it's not to your disadvantage, especially the breathing part. Thank you. Just go on.
Can someone translate that question? You kind of cut off a little bit.
I just wanted to say that my breathing was so shallow that I could not breathe in. I could only breathe out. That was my problem. That is why I could not hold the air also. I normally, even during walking, I do box breathing. But after that, when I came home and after some time in the afternoon, I just couldn't breathe in. I could breathe out, but I couldn't breathe in.
I mean, maybe you should consider not exerting your body so much during a dry fast.
No, but I was feeling so much better. I was feeling so energetic. I have had 11-day dry fast also earlier. And that time I was very miserable. And this time I was feeling, and you talked about Sat Maga, that he was, dry and dry hair and good skin on dry fast. That is what I experienced too. Earlier in the 11-day fast one, I was not walking so much and not doing so much exercise. Within 5 to 6 days, my hair were very oily, and I was exactly like you said, I was having that feeling, very dirty feeling. But this time, in the 15-day dry fast and with so much walking, I had so much energy, and I was full of vitality.
I love it. Yeah, I think there's a balance there for sure. I think that it's a great conversation topic. But I think that obviously when your muscles are requiring, blood flow through too much exercise, it's requiring your body to pull from different minerals and different things your body requires during that exercise. So sometimes I'd rather have that blood be flowing in the areas that my body requires it during my healing process. So I think light exercises is definitely a great idea, but I'm just not going to overdo it. But I think it is a great thing to discuss and put our heads together for in the future podcasts.
Trevor,
thank you very much. And last question: during sun gazing, do you have that feeling that after you gaze the sun for some time, you start seeing green color or some other color? Because after I sun gaze, after a few minutes, I start seeing everything green. I start seeing green people, green everything around me. Is it normal?
That's interesting. For me, I kind of associate that to whatever chakra is being healed at that time. So sometimes maybe you're exposed to your green chakra is exhibiting some cleansing at that time. I'll see blue with my blue chakra when my throat was being healed. So I mean, it can also be your eyes turn white when you detox further and further, because it's also a lymphatic flow. Your eyes are really a representation of where your brain is at. So you could be seeing that lymphatic color that your body's expelling during that time as well. So I think it's kind of even more an energetic thing. You're getting kind of blessed by seeing that color, or it's a lymphatic thing that your body's detoxing out.
Oh, thank you very much.
So Frederick was trying to tell you, Trevor, that perhaps the lady who was just talking was having trouble later on with the breathing because of the vapors of the forest. Perhaps it was too saturated for her to be able to process. So it is important to check perhaps humidity levels on that day, because it does, I think that's what Frederick was saying about the saturation level of the air. I just wanted to drop that.
There's definitely the right environment for dry fasting. And I think that having the right amount of moisture in the air is beneficial. You can string together days a little bit better. It's almost like a little bit of an assistance. And so I used the Guatemalan dew point, like by the lake. It was definitely this morning saturation that I was able to hydrate a little bit with. I think that, I don't think it's breaking a fast, but I think that if you were to be by a waterfall constantly getting that, I think that's almost like breaking a fast, even though I'm so tempted to just kind of go near a waterfall. I think a little bit of moisture is good, but not too much, At the end of the day, we're utilizing dehydration, so you might as well take advantage of it. So.
True, I had the same experience.
Yeah, there's definitely something there.
Come to Winnipeg, where I live. Look at the frosty windows.
Oh, nice. I think you turned the audio off.
Oh, sorry. So it's ice cold here, very, very dry. And yeah, just come here, no humidity. So you're totally dehydrated.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe a 10-day dry fast for me would probably be a 6-day dry fast for you. Less is required because you're such dry climate, but that's kind of it's scary because you're walking blindly at that time. You know, look at the extremes. You're dry fasting in the desert, you can die a lot sooner. But if you look at the opposite extreme, going to a very humid environment, you can probably be a breatharian to like 50 days. Who knows?
I'm going to use what Satmark fasting of going into the snow, walking into the snow, barefoot.
Regarding the minerals, I'm with you on this because my first 40-day fast, I had to stop on day 38 because I couldn't stand anymore. And I didn't realize, like for a few days, I found it really difficult. I had to have meetings basically lying down because I couldn't stand. And then I went to the doctor and I realized my blood pressure had halved. So because we're going through such extreme changes, there's a few things that stress our bodies. So definitely watch out for your blood pressure and watch out for your minerals. And I think you're completely right. It's probably could be a lack of potassium because the lacks of magnesium or potassium, because they really, really stress our body. And it's basically your body expressing when you can't breathe that there's some kind of stressing factor there. And it could be a very simple fix like a mineral. So I would watch out for this because in the past, I see in some of the discussions that people are very worried about, you know, oh my God, I'm on a fast. I can't take all my minerals. And they're worried that all these 20 things they take every day, they can't take. And I must say, I mean, for these fasts, I've taken nothing. You know, I've taken no magnesium, potassium, whatever. But I would say these ones you need to watch out for and especially fill up your stores beforehand, that you have enough resources for these longer fasts. So there could be a very simple reason behind it. So just have that checked, have your levels checked, or just make sure you fill them up beforehand. That was just my experience from really long fasts.
Yeah, I think it's also...
Just to interrupt you, Trevor, how much amount do you take? Because I think this for some of us is just a new thing altogether. So how much do you need? How much do you take during this time? Or what do you use to measure or something like that?
I think the daily intake is like 200 milligrams for potassium, and for magnesium, it's already measured out in the capsules. I just take the highest quality magnesium as well. And there's like a process that happens. I was reading this one literature from like, I think Dr. Shelton on dry fasting, and he was saying how your body goes through a remineralization during the first stages of dry fasting because your body kind of like understanding its survival mode, and it's time to distribute that minerals appropriately so that it can survive more efficiently, and it dishes it off to the organs. And if you don't have enough supplies, you'll come across some problems like Hital was talking about. But yeah, I completely concur with Mr. TJS on the mineralization aspect.
Hi, Trevor. I have a question for you. So thank you so much for sharing. It's really appreciated. I am not sure if you've mentioned that, but because I missed the first 5 minutes or so, how did you build up to these 20 days? Like, did you start like every week, 24 hours, and then like 2 days, or when did you start experimenting with dry fasting?
Yeah, I pretty much did a water fast that was like 65 hours at first, and that kind of opened up the door, and then I saw the beauty of it. And then I started believing in the concept of connecting autophagy, doing consistent OMAD every 24 hours and have one meal. And then I make it even more aggressive. I do every 48 hours, and then I do every 72 hours and have one meal, to the point where I was just finding the best buffets around town, and I would just get all my calories in on one meal and then continue another 72-hour dry fast. And so I experienced a lot of benefits that way, and like a lot of true, you know, suppression in my symptoms of my illnesses. But it wasn't until I started reading more literature that I saw that 11 days was kind of like a breaking point for people, at least according to Russian literature. That ended up not being true for me because I had to go farther. So I attempted that. I went to I actually did The answer to your question, I pretty much was constantly unraveling the layers of toxicity in my body as you go farther and farther. I did a 3-day, then a 5-day, then a 7-day, then a 9-day, and then eventually an 11-day. So I tied together a 6-day and a 9-day, and I only broke it. Broke it for 36 hours. So it was a 6-day, 36-hour break. Then I did a 9-day, and I saw that I truly connected that autophagy and the healing benefits, but I didn't know exactly how to approach that because there's not much literature on connecting fast with that short of a break. So I kind of went along with what I was kind of like reading was beneficial. And at that point, I would go farther based on how my body was responding. So I would go 11 days and then 13 days and then 15 days. And I did for like 5 15-day fasts. And then eventually I went right to 20 days because that felt good. Of course, the next step is going 27 days. So it's kind of like unraveling the onion layers of toxicity of the body, because at first my body was really discarding a lot of lymphatic gook, so much, a lot of plaque, and it was kind of coming all in my mouth, and I was just like, this, I did not believe I was that built up with waste matter, and I was excited to kind of eradicate that and get rid of it.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you.
For sure. How's your fast going for you, Arik? Are you doing okay over there with your juice fasting? Oh, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah, Trevor, maybe when we are still getting, we are still, maybe as we are trying to conclude, I don't know if I'm going to block somebody, but I'm not, we are still open. We can still talk till midnight this side. It's no problem. There's something called insomnia, sleeping, problem with sleeping. Did you have a problem with the sleep? Did you, how many hours were you sleeping maybe on this last fast?
At first, I would be completely inundated with the hormones that would be like, get up, go hunt, go find food, go find water. And it would be like, you just lay in bed, and a lot of people break their fast because they just can't stand the sleepless nights. In my opinion, if your colon is cleansed enough, then I really truly believe the body requires a lot less sleep. So you really only need 2 or 3 hours and you're full of refreshed. And I even experienced that after my fast as well. Until I started eating more food, I would require more and more sleep, more food to break down. So I would just kind of spend that time listening to really chill Native American flute music. It really is just, it just grounds you and gets you through those nights. And I just see every night as another day, another invested day. So it was really valuable for me to kind of get through that night into the next day. The nighttime was my favorite. Nighttime was my favorite time, actually, because it's cooler and there's moisture about to come. The sunrise is about to come. But at first, I was experiencing hormonal just repair, and then the sleepless nights would be more difficult for my dry fast. But eventually, that got better.
And so many things you have handled here today. You talked about some point where you were able to hear animals, and I think that really touched me, struck me. It could be actually I was interpreting it as there's a level where if you go spiritually and reach that light that you're talking about, we'll be able to have no barriers even with the languages. It means we'll even be able to hear a person speak what you have never learned before. Let's say, for example, Japanese. Maybe you'll be able to hear what this person is saying. That's how I was interpreting it. And there's also something you talked about, clarity of mind. At what peak did you have that clarity of mind in the fast? Is it after the fast or some time during the fast? Because there are so many things, Trevor, you are full of, you're just a wealth of information. You have so many things, and some of those things are passing by without us digging deeper into them. So I think this one just talked about them as you are going, and I thought I should just reverse a little so that we get them clearly, very clearly.
Yeah, I think that my goal was to write a book during the dry fast, and I knew that I was going to be way more clear-minded at a certain point, and I would get so much work done at a certain point. That point was day 11, and I was just a machine. I literally, in my previous fast, I'll come up with so many ideas, so much. It's such a dense period of time after day 11 that you can really get a lot done. It's no wonder to me that Jesus Christ got so much done in just a couple of years. He was constantly fasting and hiking. He was just
it's just this state of mind that a lot more can process and you can accomplish so much more. So I was just churning out pages after day 11 and coming with so many ideas, but the clarity comes at day 11, in my opinion. And that's ironically the time of fracture for any disease the body might have. You kind of get detached from that bacteria that had a power over you, you know? So yeah, it was pretty much day 11.
I'm looking forward to the insomnia because I'm planning to learn how to play the piano in the next 7 days, dry fast.
Nice. You know, a lot of people experience lymph node, you know, their lymph nodes are inflamed. And I think that 7 days is exactly when they start dissipating. And day 13 is when they're completely empty. You don't have any lymph node inflammation at all, depending on the illness, you know. So, I mean, lymph nodes are obviously just, in my opinion, things that might be eating inside you. It's kind of like if you have just like a jaw infection like I did, and they're pretty much eating around that jaw area and causing lymphatic nodes to be inflamed all around here, as long as you're feeding them. Obviously the diet helps. So if you're not feeding them and you're implementing autophagy, you kill the parasite and you clean the lymph. You know, it's a beautiful 1-2 team, you know, 1-2 punch. So, and obviously if you stay in that long enough, you kill both and you clean your lymphatic system, your blood gets cleaned. I mean, I'm surprised that many more people don't know about dry fasting. It's a pretty unbelievable thing to do.
I think parasites are an absolutely beautiful topic because they are so smart, because our second largest brain is, I think, our gastrointestinal system. And they actually log in there and they send us they basically send us the signals what to eat. And if we have bacteria that crave sugar, they send that signal and we eat it. It's so intelligent and so tied into our entire system. And we basically need to go and uproot and dismantle and tear this whole system out. And that's what the dry fast does. And that's why it's so, I find it amazing how smart these little organisms are. All they do is they go in and they send a signal to our brain, I need this food. We go out and we get it every single day.
Yeah, and your body will walk right to it.
It's so beautiful. But once you understand it, I think all of us probably also have candida overgrowth. And that's one of the things we really need to heal through a really stretched out fast.
Totally. I feel like I've become a parasitologist.
No, but it's one of the things that we all need to heal. And it's one of the key components. Once we've healed this, we are really free.
Totally.
But how long can you be free, Mr. TJS? As soon as you make an apple juice, you get the same, well, not the same, but enough load bacteria inside you to demand and proliferate in your intestinal gut to ask for more. That's what they say.
It's a case of homeostasis.
Once you start eating,
the body's balanced.
It starts. Pardon me, Peter?
I think it's a case of getting a balance. I think that you're always going to have candida. You're never going to get rid of it, but it's going to be enough into control whereby the body's in homeostasis and it's balanced. And at that stage, then it's all under control, basically.
I got rid of my candida. Now the question is how long it'll go away before I acquire it again. You know, it could be apple juice, something else that has that bad bacteria, and it obviously builds back up again. That's why dry fasting once a year is probably beneficial to keep candida eradicated altogether, and then it comes back somehow, some way. But yeah, I think that I think parasites are very intelligent, just like Mr. TJ has said. I think that even a mom's breast milk, the parasite knows enough to go to the nipple of the mom, and the baby will actually drink that milk and go to the next generation. And lives for thousands of years, generation to generation. That's why people are like, I have allergies. It runs in my family. I'm like, it runs in your family, huh? Like, you're just passing along a parasite from you know, you don't want it's really disgusting to think about that, but it's just like a transfer throughout, you know, the ages. It could be thousands of years that parasites live for. And until you do the proper detoxing, it's going to keep living on. And that's why I think there's like an ancestral kind of community, you know, a DNA within you that's kind of encouraging you to clean your bloodline.
There's a 106-year-old yogi that teaches on Indian TV, And his regimen is 3 days eating whatever he's given, very small amount, and 10 days of dry fasting. And he's maintained it since his early adulthood. And he's 106 and teaches yoga. Beautiful. Very no fat whatsoever. So that's a very nice regimen to keep the parasites at bay, I suppose, if we're talking about balance, right, Peter?
Definitely.
You were saying, how do you keep a balance? How do you keep these beasts not accumulate in your gut, right? So you have to have a regimen, perhaps more than once a year, of dry fasting, or something like just Yogananda does.
By the way, Aranka, regarding the overgrowth, I'll tell you on the other side, but I can tell you, I think we go to normal growth rather than overgrowth. We basically remove the basis for it to ever dominate you again.
I didn't know about that.
That's basically, it's like, for me, it's where I'm at this journey as well. So I can't tell you what it's like once I've beaten it. And, but I'm with Trevor on this, that it's no longer an overgrowth, it's just a normal growth. And if it ever gets too much, you have the tool set now just to remove it.
Okay.
I think
I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Trevor, there were a few questions that we received on the fasting group, and but I wasn't present at your webinar because I had to go. But so if they were covered, just let me know. But if not, then maybe you could cover them. So first of all, someone is asking if you know if it's possible to reverse chronic kidney disease and different kidneys problems by means of fasting. So if you know anything in this area.
That hasn't been covered. People have come to me about this topic numerous times. Dr. Filanov would even say that it may be something that you surgically need to go in for. I mean, I kind of don't agree with that, even though he's, a dry fasting guru. I think that obviously when you first start dry fasting, your kidneys kind of hurt a little bit, and then you stop and you can cleanse it. I actually urinated out some sediment in my kidneys the first dry fast I did. And that kind of showed me that I was breaking up some stones. So I'm along the ideology of going as far as you can until you feel kidney pain, breaking, possibly adding some baking soda to dissolve the kidney stones a little bit, because he doesn't really talk about that, breaking it with baking soda. I don't do that anymore. But and then you go a little bit deeper, and I've actually consulted somebody on this specifically, only one person, but they were able to find a breakthrough with kidney disease and kidney pain by kind of going a little bit deeper, like gradually, until there was no kidney pain at all. They broke up the stones. Sometimes they're so calcified, it's hard to break up. That's something that dry fasting and baking soda, I think, work well together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. And then there was another one about your daily routines during the fast. Someone is, Aranka is asking. So Aranka, you are here, that's fine. That's, you probably asked it, right? Okay, and let's see if, just a moment. Okay, so that's it pretty much. Okay, good, thank you very much.
Yeah, obviously I'm talking here and I'm obviously a normal person. And I think that that's kind of what I wanted to come across is like, any of you guys can do this too. It's just a matter of mental strength and just believing and having faith in yourself and taking it slowly. You have the rest of your life to do this, you can just gradually do little by little. But if you do embark on a longer prolonged fast, I definitely would encourage that, because I feel like that's the most interesting thing I've ever done in my life. And that's when my spiritual journey actually began. So.
Trevor, one question.
Can I just, sorry, go on.
Sorry, Pete. I find it very difficult to share this information online because a lot of people don't really understand. What kind of venue should we use to actually speak about this in the future? Should we have a group somewhere, or have you got something in mind to really share this information? Because it's valuable information. It's a lot of information that makes our life easier, because we're all doing the same things, and it kind of, at times it makes us wonder, are we on the right path? Or it's nice to see that other people have the same learnings. So what kind of venue should we use to share this?
Currently, I think that's a great question, and I've thought about this a lot. And I think that since the beginning of time, there's been a suppression of information, even distorting the message.
Massively so, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that now there's going to be preservation of information. Coincidentally, at this time, my family is kind of involved in the decentralization of technology, and that's one facet where you can protect information. There's decentralized YouTubes, there's decentralized databases where you can store information where even pharmaceutical industries can't even mess with you. They can't take down the information because that's pretty much what's going to happen. So in the meantime, I'm putting the information on every single thing, every platform, Instagram, eventually YouTube, and obviously Arik and Frederick are on top of their path as well, which is cool.
But should we have some kind of, it would be nice to make this a more regular venue, because I learned a lot from this. I'm sure all of us here did.
Definitely.
It makes a big difference. And also to see all of you at different stages, that we're all on the same path. It would be nice to make this a more regular institution, like a monthly call or something, because I really, really enjoyed this. I definitely drew a lot from this.
Yeah, totally. Same here. I think that, this is a very, very important group right here, because I don't know of any other in the world. And I think that when we take this information, we're kind of like the mustard seeds that can grow into trees, and you're extending it to your friends and family. And essentially from this small group, I think you can change the world. It's going to spread that fast. This is what I call the good news. The good news is that you can heal your body, be your own doctor, and cure anything. The bad news is it's pretty hardcore to do so.
The funny thing is, it is really leading edge. I mean, if you think about it, how many people are on day 40, 50 of their fast? How many people have done 20 days of a dry fast? We've got somebody who's done 15 days, some people who've done 10 days. But that's already like the leading edge in terms of dry fast technology. So there's very, very few people who can actually do this, sustain, and live to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. So I kind of want my life to be as amazing as possible. This life, I'm not going to wait till I die to the next life. I want to live pure, So that's why I went as hardcore and as far as I did, because my life enjoyment was so low. So I'm trying to get my life back, so to speak. So I went for it. But yeah, you're right.
In essence,
I was going to ask Trevor was basically. I mentioned about some colleagues and friends that are into the herbals side of things and the parasite cleanses that way. I'm nowhere near getting up to sort of the 11 days just yet, but obviously that's what I'm intending to do. But I just wondered in between my dry fasts, if I was to do the parasite cleanses as well, would that have a knock-on effect and aid those the processes, or would that hinder things, or what's your school of thought there?
I think that, even in your book, you're reading the Phoenix Protocol. He touches on different things you can do to assist your body's elimination before embarking on a dry fast. One of the things is fisetin, like protein breakdown. So yeah, they work. I mean, I don't really depend on them. Herbs, if I ever did like a parasite cleanse with herbs, it didn't really work, Nothing has really worked besides dry fasting. So it's kind of like, why not just keep things simple? Prep for it, take the potassium and dry fast, and you're good to go. No need to complicate anything. The herbs are beneficial, but I've done a very regimented herbal protocol, and it's okay.
Yeah, the herbs don't really resonate with me at the moment, so I've not really sort of pursued that.
I like what you said, Trevor, about the whole dry fasting is what works, because I feel like we've all come to this spot of dry fasting because nothing works. And we're all looking for something. And then when you find a positive result and you feel so different after, you're like, okay, I'm onto something. And that's like the inner drive that makes you look forward to the next one to see what else is going to change, because it gets better and better. And then it's hard to communicate to other people because it's so, on the leading edge, and it's so like undocumented. To have someone like you, come on here and say, hey, I did 20 days. It's just like, okay, this is why it makes sense. All these previous ones have worked for me, is because we have been censored to not know the potential of the body.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to be able to see your face. It's so important to be able to communicate than just read. Because I mean, I've been reading and reading and reading for years, but it's almost like to know, okay, Trevor did 20 days. Like now I have a new target. Like I'm hitting it. Like, why not? So it's like, what's it going to take to get there, you know? And so I just appreciate your vulnerability, your honesty, your experiences, and everyone on this group coming together. And it just is so inspiring. I just feel like we were born for this moment. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Totally, I appreciate that very much. I think that it's once we see one person doing it, it's just like seeing someone public speaking. We kind of think, man, I can do that too. They're doing it as well. Like you're kind of like, we're all one. We're all kind of able to mirror each other. And I'm just kind of, you know, I am an extension of you as well. So if I can do it, you can do it. It's just the proper information you need to approach this. But yeah, I think it's, you're right. This group is just like a filtration of all the people that have been through so many other things, and we found dry fasting, and it's just like, in my opinion, this is the holy grail. And sometimes when people have health issues on Facebook, I'll just kind of drop dry fasting. I'm not going to expand upon it. If they take that, they go for it. And sometimes they'll look into it a little bit, but I'm like dropping this little golden nugget off to them. And it's just kind of like, no water, no food. That doesn't make any sense. I've had many debates with doctors even, and I've had a lot of anger towards doctors actually in the past several years. And it's just, how can you be so smart and so educated and yet be so ignorant towards the best possible protocol of them all? That's why I feel like I'm dreaming sometimes it takes us non-doctors to kind of unroot this beautiful process to heal yourself.
Definitely. I've nearly been banned from certain Facebook groups because I've mentioned dry fasting before. So,
but then they're kind of projecting onto you because maybe it's kind of hitting something, a truthful like core to them that knows that's the path, and now they lash out back to you because they're not ready for that evolution.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm blocking anyone, but Trevor, I just want to actually bring some punchlines or the things that you have talked about. So Trevor gave us some very important things here today. One, Trevor said that he uses a fast, even a prolonged fast like 11, 12, 13 days to prepare for the longer one or for the longest. Another thing that Trevor talked about that I think we need to really catch very fast, we should not forget, was about the Indian gurus. I think, I don't know how you call them, but we talked about these people who do 15-day dry fast, 3 days rehydration, then 15, I think up to 4 times. Between the fast, 3 days rehydration, 15, 4 times. We didn't exhaust it so much, but that is mentioned that it's happening in India. Another thing that he talked about today, it's about the 11th day. After the 11th mark, because there was also a question about a person who had reached 10 days and was not seeing any big difference in the fast. So after the 11th day or in the 11th day, things change totally. You just see and I think that's always the peak where Dr. Philo talks about second which crisis? It's called acidosis.
Acidosis, yeah.
Acidosis crisis. So I think that marks one of the quotes that was very powerful in this talk today is about, if it doesn't make you feel good, that's about information, it is not good. So any information that's like suppressing you, taking you down, making you feel stressed or making you have some doubts about them, you don't need to take them. So there are so many other things that's talked about, and we have agreed that we are going to talk, you're going to have another talk with Trevor again another time. And he will also share about some books that have been compressed from Russia, from the other, I think, combination of so many other books of talking about fastings of different types. And he has also written a book. I think if it's going to be out anytime, I don't know if it's already out, because he also talked about writing a book. And I think then there's this last one. This thing about, there are so many other things, but this other one, I need a clarification myself about how you measure your heart rate, about measuring heart rate, something like that. You know, you bought something for measuring heart rate. Maybe, Trevor, I'm sorry for taking you back again. Maybe you can mention about that when you are in the dry fast. Thank you. As for me, I think that is the end for me. Arik is here. I was just a co-host. Arik will take the rest of the part that is ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on here today. And I look forward to future discussions as well.
Okay, cool. Okay, guys. So we're going to wrap it up. And thank you very much, Trevor. Thank you very much to all the people who were present here. And of course, we will upload this amazing webinar on different YouTube channels, including the YouTube channel of the Weekly Fasting Group, which I manage. And yeah, and if people will have some more questions, they will post it. And if in case we have another webinar, which I hope we will, then we will relate to them.
Thank you so much, Arik. Appreciate it. Your kind of picture you put when you're not on the camera makes it look like you're actually on camera. So I was speaking to you earlier, and it's very deceptive. It looks like you're kind of
okay.
Yeah, you got a good one.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you
you
very much. It was a great pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for organizing, Arik.
Of course, my pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye, guys. Love and light to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Bye.